Thank you, Chair, for being so sympathetic. We pray. Almighty God, we beseech you to behold with your abundant favor and blessings us, your servants, whom you have been pleased to call to the leadership positions in this republic. We seek guidance to treat and consider all matters that shall come under our deliberation in so just and faithful a manner as to advance the peace, prosperity, and welfare of our country and of those whose interests you have committed to your charge. Amen.
Thank you, Senator Nyonka. We'll also, for record purposes, do a quick round of introduction, starting with the members of Senate present. I could start from my leader.
Thank you, Chair. My name is Enoch Wambua, Senator Kitui County, and a member of this committee. Thank you, Chair. My name is Mwenda Gataya, Senator for the Rakanidi, member of this committee.
Good morning, all. My name is Jones Maruma, Senator for Taita Taveta, Vice Chair to this committee.
Chair, my name is Senator Richard Nyonka, a friend of this committee, and I welcome the Kisii delegation to this event.
Thank you. You're welcome, Senator. Moses Otieno Kajwang, Senator from Homa Bay and the chair of the committee. We have a lean team of staff today because the bulk of our staff are engaged in report writing for us to be able to present our reports to the House before the 31st of March. But the ones present can go on record.
Good morning, Chair and members. My name is Chris Pastima. With your permission, Chair, the rest of the Secretary can go on record.
Good morning, Chair and members. My name is Malcolm Gugi, Legal Counsel.
Morning, Chair and members. William Zenton with the answered.
Good morning. My name is Emilia Morapula with the Secretariat team.
Morning, Chair. Ibrahim Odindo, Sergeant Atam.
Chair, that's it from the Secretariat.
Yeah, fairly lean today, but we understand the reasons why. The Office of the Auditor General.
Good morning, Chair and members. My name is Patrick Muruki. I'm the liaison officer attached to this committee from the Office of the Auditor General. Chair, we have our team from Homa Bay who are responsible for the audit of Kisii County, Homa Bay and Migori. With your permission, I can ask them to come on record.
Okay, please go on record.
Good morning, Chair and members. My name is Dr. Simon Sokortan Abosu from the Office of Auditor General, Director of Audit, in charge of Homa Bay Region, that's Migori, Kisii, and Homa Bay County.
Good morning, Chair and honorable members. My name is Anthony Muriuki, Deputy Director of Audit, based in Homa Bay Region Office.
You're welcome. National Treasury.
Thank you, Honorable Chair and Honorable Senators, Your Excellency the Governor. My name is Reverend CPA Kimathi Kwiriga from the National Treasury Liaison Office.
Karibu from Office of Control of Budget.
Good morning, Chair and honorable members. My name is Gilbert Gachanja from the Office of Control of Budget, liaison officer attached to this committee. Thank you.
I believe ESCC, are they also part of the report writing?
Chair, yes. But they will join us in the course of the meeting.
Okay, that's fine. That marks the introduction from our end. Did we invite the County Assembly of Kisii?
Yes, we did, Chair, but they have not sent communication.
Okay, fine. Governor Kisii County, please introduce yourself.
Thank you, Chair. My name is Simba Arati, Governor Kisii. With me, Chair, I have a team which is going to help us in answering many questions that are raised in the audit report. I'll ask them to come on board.
Yeah, please, your name and what
Morning,
with the
Chair.
county.
My name is Kennedy Abincha. I'm the CC Finance, Kisii County Government. Thank you, sir.
Alfred Nyandieka, County Attorney.
Morning, Chair. CPA Sheila Mora, Accountant, Kisii County.
Good morning, Chair. My name is Conrad Owino, Chief Officer Revenue Management, Kisii County Government.
Morning, Chair. My name is Ronald Nyakweba, CC Health, Kisii County.
Good morning, Chair. Vincent Okioma, Chief Officer Roads.
Good morning, Chair. My name is Cleophas Okioi, Chief Officer Water, Kisii County Government.
Good morning, Chair. My name is Roger Songeri. I work for the Oversight Kisii County.
Good morning, Chair. My name is Naftali Obocha, researcher with Kisii County Oversight Team.
Good morning, Chair and members. My name is Elizabeth Nyamokami, Accountant, County Executive of Kisii.
Good morning, Chair. QS Jackson Kaki, County Quantity Surveyor, Public Works.
Chair, my name is CPA Evan Skiage from Kisii County.
Good morning, Chair. My name is John Nyandanyi, CFO.
Good morning, Chair. I'm John Chacha, Finance Officer.
Good morning, Chair. My name is Violet Hombasa, Accountant Finance.
Good morning, Chair. My name is Anes Osoro, the County Secretary.
Good morning, Chair. My name is Leonard Chibeka, Accountant, Kisii County.
Did I see a member of the County Assembly walking? No? Did you? Was there a member of the County Assembly?
I think you want to. He must be outside there, Chair.
Is he part of your delegation?
No.
I thought you had hired them as a cheering squad. I hope they are here on their own
volition, yes.
Volition. Okay. Fine. Sergeant at Arms, if there's a member of the County Assembly who has come for these proceedings, you must give them priority. You must make sure that they have a seat. Is there someone who has not introduced themselves? Everyone has gone on record. Excellent. Honorable members, we did not adopt the agenda, which we ought to have done initially. Could I put the question? Our agenda today is as stated and as per the pack that is before us. Could I get a proposal?
Chair, I propose adoption of the agenda as stated.
Thank you, Senator Wambua. Could I get a second?
Chair, I second.
Thank you, Senator Gattai. We'll then go straight to administration of oath and tabling of documents. Clerk of the Senate, you'll guide the governor.
Chair. I, Paul Simba, Arati, do solemnly swear that the evidence that I shall give before this committee in respect to the matters before the committee shall be the truth, and the whole truth and nothing but the truth, so help me God.
Then you'll proceed to table your documents.
Mr. Chairman, I hereby table the following documents before the committee. 1, management response and accompanying annexures on the report of Auditor General on the County Executive for the year 2023-2024. 2, management response and accompanying annexures on the report of Auditor General on the receiver of revenue for the County Executive for the year 2023-2024. Management, number 3, management response and accompanying annexures on the report of Auditor General on the County Revenue Fund for the County Executive for the year 2023-2024. Thank you, Chairman.
Okay, Auditor General, could you let us know whether you've been able to review the responses and whether you prepared a brief?
Yeah, thank you, Chair. We are able to receive the responses and accompanying evidence, and we are able to prepare the briefs on which we shared.
Okay. Clerk of the Senate, could you confirm that we received everything on time as required?
Yes, Chair, I confirm that we received the documents in time.
So I think then there is no reason why we should not proceed unless there is any supplementary issue to be raised by members of the committee. If there's no supplementary issue, we'll go straight to the reports of the Auditor General. We have 3 reports to consider: the report on the executive, the receiver of revenue, and the County Revenue Fund. As I've mentioned, we have spent some time with the Auditor General, and the Auditor General has given us a brief on their most recent position following your presentation of the financial statements and following the tabling of their report in the House. The last time you were here, Governor, we had an interesting conversation regarding constitutional timelines and particularly the provisions of Article 2293. The Senate is alive to what the Constitution requires, And as a result, we have planned that we shall present our reports to the House by the 27th of March, which will be on Thursday, for debate and for consideration, and for the House to take appropriate action. Appropriate action has not been defined in the Constitution, it has not been defined in the PFM, but if you go to the Public Audit Act, you might get some guidelines on what appropriate action should look like. There will be an implementation matrix that entities would be required to come up with, and entities will be required to report back to the House on measures that they've taken to close the issues that remain outstanding in the report of the Auditor General. So I believe that that will, I don't know whether it's a reason why you came with the attorney to your right. I am not sure whether he has got some missiles for us today, but I'm just saying that so that if you had a brief to raise any objections, we guide him accordingly. So we are still within the constitutional timelines, not just for Kisii, but for the other counties. For that reason, we'll be extremely efficient today because we must ensure that we have enough time for us to prepare the reports and table by the 27th of March. The Auditor General has assessed your responses, and as per your responses, if you are to start with a report on the county executive, the Auditor General had raised 64 issues, or there were 64 paragraphs. Probably one of the longest reports I've seen. I don't know why for 8 billion shillings you should have 64 issues flagged. So we'll also be asking a few questions at some point regarding your internal controls, your internal audit, your audit committees, because if those were functional, there is no reason why you should have 64 issues escalated to the Senate. It is symptomatic of a breakdown of internal controls. Out of the 64, the auditor has advised us that they are satisfied with the responses on 8 issues. On 4, they are partially addressed, and the 4, I think, generally relate to policy issues. You know, those usual things about 1/3 salary, ethnic composition, things that can be achieved progressively. But 52 are not addressed. 52 out of 64. We have discussed with the Auditor General and we have asked ourselves, if from the evidence tendered and from the ground visits by the Auditor General, the auditor has told us that 52 are still unaddressed. Those of us who come from the lake, we have a saying that if Omena comes from the lake and tells you that tilapia is sick, you better believe Omena, because they live together in the lake. So if the auditor tells us that 52 issues are unaddressed, we better believe them, because they live with you on the ground, even though they sit in Homa Bay. But remember, all that is South Nyanza. So we will perhaps go through the issues that have been addressed and adopt them. The issues that are not resolved, we probably could sample a few of them, but the job of this committee is not to carry out audit. That job is given constitutionally to the Office of the Auditor General. Our job would be, if the auditor comes and says, since our audit we believe that the entity has taken certain action, our job would be to adopt that and report to the House that at least 8 issues have been satisfactorily resolved. So what happens to the 52? The 52 must then be dealt with in accordance with the Public Audit Act, which requires that upon adoption of the report of the Senate, that accounting officers will be notified of the resolution of the House and that they will prepare a report on implementation. And then this committee will be required to follow up on closure of some of those issues. And it is in follow-up that we can then make recommendations on whether the EACC should take up some issues or on whether administrative action or disciplinary action should be taken, perhaps on professionals who have violated the law. I think that's a framework that we'll be adopting to enable us finish this session in good time and to enable us take a report to the House in good time. That will apply to the report of the executive, the report on the receipt of revenue, and the report on the county revenue fund. But generally, a lot of issues still remain unresolved. And so before we get into the specific issues, Governor, do you have an audit committee as a county?
Chairman, yes, we had an audit committee whose time elapsed, I think, late last year. And we have made an advert. People have done the applications. And Chair, as we're talking, we are sure that in a couple of days we'll be having it formally in office. Therefore, it has been there. It was there, but its time came to an end towards September, October there. Therefore, probably we'll be having it in place after the interviews have been conducted, as it were.
But that means that during the audit, during the presentation of financial statements, they were in office, because I see your statements are signed 30th of September.
But by then, Chair, I think their term had come to an end. Therefore, they were not there in by the time the audit was being carried out.
Do you have an internal audit function?
We do.
You have an internal auditor?
Yes.
And you know that an internal auditor is supposed to, the internal audit plan is supposed to be approved by the audit committee. So if you don't have an audit committee, then the internal auditor is basically useless. It means that even internal controls then cannot be effective. YG, is that the right interpretation?
Chair, you have put it very well. In an event that there are no audit committees in place, the functionality of the internal audit may not have value in terms of that processes. And again, you look in terms of even the internal audit compositions, whether they really do the work plans, in terms of even who, their reports goes to where, that's really some of the issues which may pose in terms of the risk internal controls. But if internal audit is really vibrant and can work, then there will be a value addition in terms of even the controls.
Governor, when is the last time you came across an internal audit report of the entity?
Chair, last year, I think before their time came to an end, I had a discussion with the whole team, the board, before it came to an end. Therefore, rightly the way the auditors just put it is that including even the director for audit is a member of that committee. But as I've said, an advert had been put. People have been invited for purpose of recruitment, and we are in the process, Mr. Chairman.
Of course, I don't expect the governor to be the one to put out the adverts. There must be someone you have employed in your organization. You're paying a salary to know that the term of the audit committee is coming to an end. Let's start early planning. Who is that person?
Chair, that's the CEC Finance who's supposed to know at what time we are supposed to be having this team in place.
Is that the man on your left?
Yes.
We go to the same church. You remember Christ was crucified between two thieves, and one was very unrepentant. Could it be the CEC Finance? CEC, why? I don't expect that the governor would have all these details that this committee is coming to a close. Why are you sleeping on the job? Because that's why we have 64 things here, mundane issues that should not come to the Senate.
Thank you, Chair. I did advise the Public Service Board to proceed and recruit the same. My role is purely advisory to the other end that this has come to an end. I have had a good approval from my Excellency Governor, and Public Service Board are carrying out on that exercise. Thank you, sir.
Do you have a Public Service Board that is fully constituted?
Chair, yes, though the chairman was moved from his position, is now the deputy governor. Therefore, again, in the process, we are recruiting the chairperson and the secretary who was not there before. But the other team, of course, without, in the absence of the chairman, there is a vice chair and a team that were running the affairs of the county.
Now, Governor, this is rather curious because you are one of those governors who has been very articulate on issues of HR and the size of your wage bill and the need to rationalize it. We have even had a meeting with you. I think you have dramatized the impact of excessive wage bill on the finances of Kisii. You don't have a county public service board that is effective, properly constituted, because without a chair and a secretary, you have no board. Without an audit committee, you have no internal controls, internal audit. Remember the last time we also told you, instead of these task forces, you can use your internal audit and internal functions. I think that was the direction of the court, that the first port of call is internal audit, then the Auditor General. So I'm a bit concerned that institutions of governance are not working in Kisii County. Members, is that my feeling or that you also get that feeling? Senator Wambua.
Thank you, Chair. Chair, I'm also a bit worried. I know my friend, Senator Governor Simba. In the absence of an audit committee, then how would you ensure that all the departments, all the units in your government are doing what they are supposed to do? Because as the CEO of the county, it would be very difficult, it's actually impossible for you to have your hands on all the financial operations of your county. But then, more importantly, is a question of best practice. Governor, because some of us are also nursing some ambitions, I would want to learn from those of you who have gone before us, what would be the best practice when it comes to the replacement of committees as important as audit committees? Do you wait until their term comes to an end, then you begin the process of replacement, or do you begin the process in good time so that on the day that they are exiting, then the other team gets in? Because then it would mean that there are functions that will suffer greatly if you have to begin the advertisement once the previous team has left office. Chair, I rest my case.
Yeah, Governor, could you give us some sense of comfort on that?
Chair, in the absence of the committee, I want to just point out that indeed the Department of Audit has been functioning, despite the fact that the committee itself is not there. Therefore, the internal mechanism in terms of control, you can be sure that those people that are carrying out their duties. It's a big team, other than now the committee itself being in for guidance purposes. But for the purpose of audit issues, for sure, the department is there, headed by a director himself, who in the composition of the committee is in the committee, as it were. The only thing is that, yes, I know we are late on this. I hope that my team could have put it in place, but shortly we'll be having a fully operationalized committee on audit.
Is the director of audit a part of the delegation today? Are they here?
No, he didn't come.
I think there's value in them being here. You have noticed that in the past we would fire the governor on everything. But in the end, officers get away with murder because they know it's a governor who's going to take the oath and defend themselves. So we are taking the battle to the doorstep of every single officer in the county who has a responsibility. So when you're coming again, the head of audit and even the chair of the audit committee, it is important that they are here because they add value to this process. Senator Nyonka.
Thank you, Chair. I am looking at the issue of what you've raised. And if you look at out of the
that we have some smooth flow. So when did did you begin the process of recruitment of the new committee? Should be straightforward. I mean, if the guy is left office in September, you know you started recruitment either the same month or 2 months later.
I mean, is it a statement of fact that you have started recruitment, or you're still planning?
Yes, Chair. There's an advert, I think, they briefed me last week, not last week, but one, on the progress, on the recruitment of the team, the committee, as it were. Last week, but
this month.
They briefed me on the process because already the advert had expired. They had to give 21 days. All that process, Mr. Chairman.
Oh, okay, Senator Nyonka, you may proceed.
Thank you, Chair. I was just going to mention that when you look at the report, Chair, the Governor, if you look at the lack of the audit committee, out of the 52 issues that are outstanding, nearly half are actually issues which the audit committee would have handled. So the question I would want to ask is, what is your general thinking in terms of every single item, whether it is procurement, whether it is all the issues which have been raised, it still falls back onto the audit committee, internal auditors and your teams. What is it that has made it impossible for these issues to have been resolved?
Donna?
Chair, thank you. You know, rightly the way you put it, it's because of lack of that committee in place. It should have actually handled these issues early enough before the Audit General came in to audit the books as they were. Therefore, the lack of that committee, it's good that you worked on your maths. It's a half of that could have been sorted out. We could not be having all those items with ourselves here.
I'm told we have members of the County Assembly present. Were the members of the County Assembly? Could they be allowed to go on record? Please say your name, the ward you represent, and the committee that you're a member of. Make sure it's on.
Yes, Chair, my name is Wycliffe Searcher. I'm the member of County Assembly representing the people of Ichuni Ward in Kisii County, and I'm also the Chair, Implementation Committee.
Okay, you're welcome.
Okay, thank you, Chair. My name is Peter Utachi, member of County Assembly, Munyerera Ward. I'm also the Chair, Budget and Appropriation Committee. Thank you, Chair.
So we have Chair Budget, we have Chair Implementation, but we don't have Chair Public Accounts Committee. So that we are clear, have you come as part of the Governor's delegation?
No, we are not part of his delegation, Chair.
You've come as members of the County Assembly?
Yes, yes.
Is any of you also a member of the Public Accounts Committee?
No.
Because I've talked of failure of institutions of governance in Kisii County, Audit Committee, County Public Service Board, County Assembly. As the County Assembly invited the executive to go through this report, knowing that we've got a concurrent mandate as per Article 2293 to consider these reports within 3 months. Governor, I know the chair of Public Accounts would have answered that, but if there was an invitation, you would know. Have you been invited by the County Assembly?
I don't think they have, Chair, because when they do their report again, they take it to the Assembly to pack, as it were. And I remember, I think last year there was that report with pack of the County Assembly. It's only that this year, I don't know, because of again of the delays that we have, they must have not gotten it.
So that, I think it confirms that the institutions that are mandated to provide accountability, oversight and governance must be properly established, they must be strengthened. And the chairman of implementation, I do not know how How do you interact with these reports of the Auditor General? At what point do you come in?
Chair, the reports are handled by the committee, that is the PAC committee at the Assembly. I only come to interact.
So if they don't handle them, you don't get seized of them?
Until the reports are tabled in the Assembly, passed, that's when I interact with them, because mine is to implement the resolutions of the Assembly.
And from the look of things, the 3 months will end this week?
Yes.
And if there's been no invitation to the executive, it means that there'll be no report of the county assembly. I think this message must go out to all county assemblies. I know last week members of county assembly were in Nairobi for the legislative summit. I hope that there were some conversations. I was meant to come there to talk about issues of accountability, but on the first day the members were quite wild, so they didn't allow people to speak. If the county assembly was to do what it's required to do, honorable members, if you look at the report of the Auditor General, there's paragraph 5.12, just to demonstrate 5.14, project implementation status, Department of Education. Now, the Auditor General has done a good job. And Auditor, this is a level of detail we need. Because when you're this detailed, you are provided about 5 ECD classrooms that had problems. That's on page, if you look at the detailed report of the Auditor General, it's page 15. You got it. So there are about 5 projects there. Otendo Primary in Moticho Ward, ECD Pit Latrine in Bosansa Primary, ECD Classroom at Makorogoinwa Primary, ECD at Otamba and Masongo, ECD at Sengera and Bendera. How can the Senate review and resolve these matters sitting in Nairobi without being in Kisii? The institution that would add value to this conversation and this consideration is the county assembly, because all these projects are in your wards. And if the auditor has flagged issues of implementation, the member of county assembly is in a better position to take a view and agree or disagree with the report of the Auditor General. And so I think we also need to encourage the county assemblies to do what the Constitution requires them to do, because leaving it to the Senate then we'll be engaged in a very academic exercise. Even if the governor tells me that Sengera and Bendera primary schools in Magenche Ward, that the matter is completed now, and the auditor disagrees, I am inclined to take the position of the auditor. So one part of the recommendation, clerk, in our report to the House, I think we'll present the observation that there seems to be some ineffectiveness in the institutions. Governor, when do you intend to have the audit committee in place so that we can put that on record? Because we must make that recommendation, we must make that observation, that the reason why we have 68 issues is because the institutions have collapsed.
Looking at the advert, I think it's among the documents which is provided here, when it was out, when they're supposed to be giving it us. In Annex 40D, there is an advert there therefore it's something which is ongoing, Chairman. And this one depends on my public service board to handle as fast as they can for me to have the committee. But as it was, as I just indicated earlier, Chairman, the Department of Audit, which is headed by the Director, they are on doing this until we have this committee. Therefore, it's the only time we can say it's complete. I can only depend on the speed of these people they can be able to move, and I'll ask them to speed up to give me the committee on time.
That does not give me any comfort, Governor. You are the Chief Executive Officer. You can't come to Nairobi and tell me that you cannot provide guidance to institutions within your county, because it then appears that you must first properly constitute the Public Service Board for it to do the interviews.
No, not necessarily, Chair. Already they have a quorum.
Yeah,
they can have it.
So why can't they have 10 minutes?
Let me give the comfort of the committee that in another 21 days, for sure, I would be having the committee in place, because those are 3 weeks.
Senator,
that's okay. No, he has mentioned that because I was going to be reminding him. He has just told the committee that last week he received a briefing on the process. So after you've been briefed, then you must have formed an idea as to when this will be concluded. So he says in 21 days, and we can go with that.
Yeah, so since you've indicated 21 days, I think that will form part of our recommendations that will be taken to the House, but we must highlight that observation on failure of institutions. Members of County Assembly, please take the report back that the Senate believes that you have a very powerful role in oversight and ensuring governance in county governments, but we are concerned that you are not exercising the powers that you have. It is the members of county assemblies that have allowed Senate to carry on processes that ideally should be done at the county level. I would have been happy for Governor Simba Arati today for us to discuss perhaps the implication of the delayed passage of the additional allocations bill, because that is a current conversation. Money meant for FLOCA, money meant for KISIP, money meant for roads, money meant for community health practitioners is not reaching counties. That really ought to have been the conversation for us to discuss what impact that is having on the affairs of Kisii County. But now we have to look at ECD classrooms and pit latrines that are incomplete in some corner of Kisii that Wambua has not gone to. I know he's been to Kisii, but there are some corners he has not gone to. If you had an audit committee, these matters would have been filtered, and the Auditor General would have gotten responses. The Auditor General is not idle for him to populate 64 issues. He only does that when he does not get answers. So, Auditor, don't stop. Don't stop. What we have done is the right thing. It's a governor who has failed to put in place proper institutions to ensure that these matters are addressed. And it is also the county assembly that could have done better in terms of ensuring that these projects are oversighted. Now that we have made that general observation on institutions, we can go to the specific report, starting with the report on the county executive. We had agreed that we are to look at the first issue, and then we will be giving guidelines on the other matters. So, start with unexplained voided transactions. What was your observation, Auditor General?
Thank you, Chair, for that guidance. Paragraph 1.1, unexplained voided transactions. The issue is we reviewed the Integrated Financial Management Information System, that's IFMIS, and the payment indicated 604 transactions amounting to Kenya shilling 232,358,845 were voided during the year 2023-2024. Information provided indicate that the Control of Budget had approved the payment of the voided transactions. Management did not provide an explanation as to why the payments were voided after the approval.
Governor, you will take us through your response.
Allow me to ask Mr. Chacha to respond to this, Chair, to read that response.
Okay. Chacha is head of which function?
Finance officer in the Department of Finance, Chair.
Okay, what was the response?
So, Chair, we did.
Now, we shall proceed as follows. I think what the procedure has been, now that you have a written response, the governor, you'll read the written response, but your officer can explain. Yeah, so you'll first respond.
Thank you, Chairman. Management response, the management scrutinized the voided transactions and has since given reasons for the voiding as follows. Consolidated, the management had processed 2 transactions of 722,327.50 for the same payee. The 2 transactions were later reversed and a single consolidated transaction prepared of 1.44,655,000 and requested refunds of the year-end transaction of Kenya shillings 156,797,781 shillings 25 cents were processed and forwarded to internet marking, whose corresponding requisition never materialized at the end of the financial year closure. These were subsequently avoided to prevent overstatement of the expenditure at the end of the financial year. An approved withdrawal of 41,028,415 of fund presented to the control of budget were not approved for withdrawal. These transactions were voided to avoid distortion of cash and cash equivalent at the end of financial year. Pending tax obligation, a payment patch included transactions of 27,733,231 shillings with unresolved tax obligations. Voiding was necessary to avoid overstatement of expenditure. Wrong amount invoiced, 2 transactions totalizing to 5,354,758 shillings were processed with wrong amounts. When this was noted, the transaction were voided. Attached, you will find the annexure. And Annexure 1, that said you have avoided the transactions giving reason for avoiding. 1.2, non-adherence to year-end cut-off. No, that is it. That's the response, Mr. Chairman, for that question.
Auditor General, you have interacted with that Annex 1 and you have looked at that response. What is your position?
Yeah, thank you, Chair. Although management explained the genesis of the voided transaction, the process voided arose after the control of the budget has approved the payment, which is expected to be effected. That this process posed a high risk. And for our side, if you look in terms of the responses, where we are saying that the management avoided of expenditure, the issue of distortion of the cash equivalent, wrong amount which has been invoiced. So for us, we are looking in terms of high inherent risks that emanate from that process. And that's why when you talk about the voided transaction, which has gone through the whole process until the approval of the budget, ought not to be avoided if indeed the systems are really working effectively. That's our position.
Senator Onyonka.
Thank you, Chair. Governor, my question will, if you'll allow me through you, will be for your CC Finance. Is you given me the permission?
That's okay, given that the question, he may not answer, there is another person.
Okay, in case he doesn't, he can come back to you.
Yeah.
CC Finance, how many transactions have been voided from the question that has been asked?
Yeah, there are over 712 transactions.
Thank you.
Yeah.
The answer that Governor has explained, he has only talked about 6 voided transactions, which means out of your 700, in fact the report says the voided transaction are 616. If you remove the one Governor has talked about, which are 6, you are left with 594 voided transactions. Are we together up to that level?
Yes, yeah.
Thank you. So the question I ask you therefore is this. If you look at the voidings and the recommendation which is on page 1, the recommendation of the Auditor General, page 1, briefing notes for County Public Accounts Committee on the Auditor General.
You might not have visibility of that, but I believe that must have been the management letter, Auditor General?
Yes.
Yeah, so yeah, just
you have page 1. Oh
no, that has been prepared for the committee.
Oh, it's for our internals.
Yes.
Thank you. The question is this, CC. Why were you voiding the payments after you had gotten approval by the control of budget to pay certain people. What made you change your minds about who you were to pay? Isn't that what you're saying, OAG?
Yes.
Thank you. What made that change of plan and change of, because under the PFM Act, like they're saying, you were supposed to have gotten the approvals and therefore the payment was recommended, the control of budget actually approved payments through the IFMI system. Why then did you stop those payments?
Chair, allow me to ask the officer who was in charge of voiding those transactions. He'll be able to be, to answer this question effectively as asked. Chacha.
Thank you, Chair. If I may start with the Honorable Senator Nyoka's question on the amount that His Excellency has not explained. If you look at the list of voided transactions of 604, we've categorized it. They have been categorized as per the attached annexures and now reclassified as per the response we've indicated here. Now, on particular issue of approval from the controller, which amounts to 41, Chair, this is an exchequer request that was sent to the controller budget nearing the closure of financial year. And when the control budget, I'm happy he's in the office, when he's considering a request, there are a number of issues that he needs clarification. Where the clarification comes late or the timelines are not bound when we are closing a financial year, the best thing is to drop that exchequer request. So it, in essence, when you are closing a financial year, you need to clear the system. It is inevitable by voiding, Chair.
That is 41 million. What
Yes.
about the rest?
The rest I'll also explain, Chair. For instance, the unrequested funds of the year end of 156, Chair. You understand, Chair, we have a habit or a culture as Kenyans that when we are nearing the closure of financial year, that's when you see most of the accounting officers processing things. So they might process those things when we are nearing the end of financial year, but if they have not been sufficiently supported, we might not present them for controller. So leaving them with this.
At what point is a transaction voided?
Chair.
Is it after approval of the control of budget or before?
Chair, you cannot avoid a transaction that has been approved by the control of budget. What we are saying that all these transactions...
So you are disagreeing with the observation of the Auditor General, because the Auditor General says these 604 had been approved by the control of budget, but were voided, and you have gone ahead to give a reason. So what are you saying? Are you disputing what the governor has read? And that's why we wanted the governor to be the one to read the response. What is the version? You disagree with the Auditor General, or you stand with the explanation given by the governor?
Yeah, if I may correct myself, I've said we have categorized the voided transactions as per the annexures, and each and every figure corresponding to 232 that has been raised by the auditor, we've explained the reasons why they voided.
We have specifically asked about the 156 million, and it has given rise to the question, when you forward to internet banking,
correct,
is that after approval by the control of budget or before approval of control of budget?
That is before, Chair.
But nonetheless, the auditor who came to the ground has told the Senate that the control of budget approved those transactions.
That's why we are saying in our analysis, the auditor is correct by finding out that out of the 206 transactions, were the 232 million that were voided, 41 million had been requisitioned. But this requisition was sent at the end of...
on the 41, you have explained that one. We are talking about the residual amounts.
The 150...
Because it's either we are agreeing with the Auditor General or disagreeing with the Auditor General. Auditor General, do you stand with your report that these transactions were voided after approval by the control of budget?
Chair, that is the true position, because if you look even in terms of the responses, when you say the last paragraph, where you are saying that Kenya 5.3 million were processed with wrong amounts, you see in terms of the responses, when this was noted, the transaction were voided. So, in terms of even the last paragraph itself, where we are talking 5.3 million, were processed with wrong amounts.
Governor, where was this Mr. Chacha when the auditor was in Kisii? For him to give that long story is giving the Senate.
Chair, first I want to let the auditor know that processing is not like, approval. You can process and it's not approved. That should be the understanding. Number two, Chair, Chacha was the acting CFO then. Is briefly to the whole transaction. They must have interacted with the Auditor General, as it were. And Chairman,
and because so why didn't he provide this explanation is given to the Senate today during the time of audit, so that the auditor can just pick residual issues for the Senate's attention?
We'll ask them why they didn't agree, the auditor and Chacha. Actually, they should tell us why.
No, I mean, it's not a deal they're making. It's about provision of records.
That's
and
true,
evidence.
Chair. But again, on Annexure number 1, Chair, that explanation of the 200 and something million, it has been provided there. Therefore, it's not true that it's only 41 million that we have explained, Chairman.
Senator Ambua?
On 191.
Senator Ambua, then Senator Nyonka, and then Senator Sifuna will go ahead.
Thank you, Chair. I want the auditors to listen to this, because I'm a bit lost and I want to be found. Let's begin with the CEC finance. You said how many transactions were voided? You said 700 and something. Yeah?
Yes, Chair. But I was corrected by Senator to be 604, Mr. Nyonka.
Okay, yeah. So you are corrected. Okay, fine. So let's go back to 604. So those are transactions that were voided. The response from management picks only 6 issues. Let's go back a bit. Back a bit. The amount in question is 232 million, right? That's the amount in question. 358,841. That's the amount in question in regard to the voided transactions. Now, 604 transactions voided, amounting to 232 million. Now, the response from management picks only 6 issues, and out of those 6 issues, you have justified transactions for 232 million 80,067 and 70 cents. Yani out of 6 transactions, you have almost completely responded to all the transactions that have been voided. And so I'm wondering, of the other 590 voided transactions, what was the cost of that transaction?
Chair, let me take through the Senator Ambua. If you check on Annexure 1, it has every voided. Therefore, we were not to explain for every voided transaction. Those voided, they have been captured in the Annexure 1. All the 604, the voided transactions, they are attached there. Whole page 191, Mr. Chairman. That's where you can find this answer. Therefore, we have answered every part of that question, Mr. Chair, as it were.
Senator Onyonka.
Thank you. Governor, I want to ask you a question, but it's a bit technical. You can ask your finance team to help you. If, when you're doing the entry for procurement, it runs through the system and goes through IFMIS, and the IFMIS system then shows you who has done which work and who has been approved to be paid and how much they'll be paid, isn't it? Mm-hmm. If today I was to ask the Auditor General to get a printout of what has been done on the IFMIS system, particularly with the records which exist within the central bank, because that is how then you end up, you do e-procurement and then you e-pay. And because Governor, you may not know this, I want to ask your senior officers of finance, are they sure that if we run that printout which had been approved by the control of budget for the payments to be done, it will be the same companies that you paid after you voided the payments?
Before you respond, Senator Sifuna, you could go on record.
Thank you, Chair. Governor, good afternoon, everyone. Apologies, I came late. My name is Edwin Sifuna, Senator of Nairobi and a member of this committee.
Okay, Governor, you may proceed.
Chair, I want to agree with Senator Onyonka that there is a tendency where people will do a requisition for certain items and pay other companies. In my administration, for sure, any transaction must be against the procurement entity and the contractors and companies who won the tenders. I've tried, unless anything else happens, which is unavoidable, that's then when the auditors, they raise it, that's the time I can be able to say, yes, this passed. But for sure, any person who has done work has to be paid. Not the monkey business where you, Onyonka, you have built this house, then Arati is paid for it. It cannot happen.
Senator Onyonka?
And Governor, that means that you have actually no problem if we can have the Auditor General pool and ask for those two audits. Who was approved to be paid, and after the voiding of the transactions, we also check with who was paid during that financial. AOG, can you do that?
Yeah, thank you, Chair. When we do the subsequent reviews, we can able to link up in terms of the request and also what is being paid. But I think in terms of the voided transaction, one of the reasons which has been provided is request rejected by control of budgets. So it's a number of, you see, it runs.
Point of order, Chair. Could you move your speakerphone next to you?
No, I'm saying the annex that has been provided has provided a clarification as to why the reasons of the voided transactions has arisen. But you can see from that annex, one of the issues which cut across is about requests rejected by the control of budgets. So the question is, what is these reasons that has prompted the control of budget to reject? And yet the payment has already been raised.
That is the question I wanted to ask, because there are actually three reasons that are stated in the entirety of that document. Under the column reason for reversal, Governor, the problem we have in this committee is that not all of us are very well versed with these systems and those reasons. You've given three reasons. The first one is funds not requested, which I don't know what it means. Maybe you can clarify. Then there is a request rejected by the control of budget, and there's a final reason there which says tax issue. So maybe some clarity on those three reasons, because as Onyonka said, some of these things are technical and most of us might not understand what those mean. So maybe you can explain those three circumstances for voiding. Funds not requested means.
Thank you. Chair, Governor, let me ask Chacha.
Chair, if I may start with the auditor issue on reasons that may make the control of budget withdraw or not approve a request. There are quite a number, Chair. One of them is if there is the request you put before the controller has not sufficient support document, or there are quite a reports that we also print from the IB. If those reports communicate, there is one item missing in that request, or there is an item in the request whose tax obligations have not been captured. Chair, in considering that, at that time we had presented that request, we were almost closing a financial year. So when he raised those issues, we could not be able to respond. That's why we dropped that request. However,
Governor, I think there is no need to go into too many stories. when I see a column says the reason for reversal is funds not requested, what does that mean? In layman's terms, what does that mean?
Chair, it means the transactions were processed up to the end level, the IB level, but were not requested from the controller. We did not send a request for withdrawal of those funds.
So why would the controller be approving those payments if you have not requested?
The controller only approves when we request, so we did not request, Chair.
Why not request? Why have you processed and not request?
See, that's the reason why I asked initially whether you agree with the report of the Auditor General or you disagree with it. Because the Auditor General has said it as a statement of fact that they were voided after the approval of the Controller of Budget. That's where the problem is, and that's why it's an audit query. And Auditor General, is that the position?
Sure, that's the position, because when we run the system, we run with the IFMI system, it means the transaction has really moved to the payment level. And that's why from our paragraph, we are saying from the IFMI information system. And that's where now you can, and the system generates, it will say this transaction has been voided. And now the question is, what's the reason of voiding these transactions?
Chair, Chair, if we progress that conversation with the gentleman there, sorry I came in when he had already introduced himself. Maybe we can get some clarity. So what would be the rationale of you advancing a payment up to that point, then you say you don't request for the payment from the COB? What explanation would there be?
Chair, maybe we need to understand at what point do we make a request at the county level?
Yes.
That is where we need to get it from. We make a request when we have processed all the transactions you have prioritized up to the IB level, internet banking.
Yes.
That is when you run now the IB report, you present with other documents to the control of budget for approval. Where you have processed these documents, like the unrequested funds, you process them to IB level, but you don't provide the request to the controller. They will still be hanging in that phase of internet banking.
Chacha?
Yes, sir.
Chair. So
we are not going to get into the details of making the sausage. The auditor was with you for 3 months. Look at the auditor's report. The auditor's report says, information provided indicate that the controller of budget had approved payment of the voided transactions. That is an audit query. All those things you're saying are transactional issues that we are not interested in.
Chair,
that's why this matter is before the Senate, that you voided transactions that had been approved by the control of budget. That's the problem.
Chair, for the sake of the laymen here who have never, handled this system, what does the approval of the control of budget look like? What is the document that the Auditor General sees?
The control of budget is present. Controller, you could help us here.
Thank you, Chair. Now, the control of budget approval is usually a single one-pager document that authorizes the credit into the county operational funds.
So is that document before us? Because the auditor says they saw that and it is a point of dispute. Is that document before us?
The auditor probably can confirm this.
Auditor? When you say information provided, what do you...
Yeah, sure. We may not be having, but when we raised at the management letter, and when we had even at the process of the exit meeting and entry meetings, we are able to give them the details. And for us to quote that this has been approved, as he said, there is a single approval. So that single approval has been there, and we can able to share once we get it.
Who was present at your inception meeting for this audit?
The CEC Finance was there.
And who was present at the exit, the final meeting?
The CEC and the team were also there, Finance.
So CEC, you saw this thing, because at inception, you got a schedule of documents required. At exit, you got a management letter, you probably have a draft report. Why are you wasting the time of the Senate?
Chair, I'm sorry, I'm not wasting the time of the Senate. We have had several meetings with the director, auditor, and I have supplied those documents and explaining him at the level of movement of requisition. The documents have been supplied to the auditor, and he can confirm the same.
Senator Wambua?
Chair, so that to make progress, I request, Chair, that you give direction. One, you ask Chair Chacha, is it called Chacha? Yes. To stop answering his own questions or giving us theories and respond to the real issues. The issue at hand here is the Auditor General says that the voiding was done after the approval by the control of budget. Now, those are things about internet banking, though we're not interested in that. Let's deal with the issues here. How are you saying that request was not made and yet approvals have already been given for you to spend to pay certain people? Were those people paid? Were they not paid? It's just as simple as that, Chair.
Chair. Allow me to say this, following up on...
Maybe you might benefit from this, the question by Senator Sifuna and Senator Nyonka. Just allow them to.
Yeah, so, Chair, for me, really, because the controversy is at which point the voiding happened, that document by the controller of budget is the, as they say in the street, Musema Kweli. And in the absence of that document, it might be very difficult for us to know who's telling the truth and who's not. So since the Auditor General has indicated that they can provide that document to us, I think we should reserve judgment until we see that document, in my view.
Senator Nyonka?
Absolutely, Chair. I support. I would hope that the control of budget, other than, I mean the OAG, other than just getting the IFMIS audit report that is showing who had been approved for the payment to be made, I would also like you to show when they made the application after that who was paid. Because that then gives you whether people who had worked 6 years ago, 3 years or 3 months are being paid and the ones who are supposed to be paid were not. The issue we are dealing with, Governor, is not really a matter that you don't understand. We have a problem, and it's not Kisii County only. I just want to say that we have reached a stage where very many individuals who have either worked with the county government currently or even before, and it's not Kisii, it could be Nyamira, it could be Homa Bay, they are all saying that once everything has been prepared, the invoices are prepared, the thing runs through up to the IFMI system, goes to the control of budget, that is where the changes as to who is supposed to be paid are made. So as a result, like this case, the control of budget said we have approved pay these individuals. And the implication is that somebody from your office, and from that audit, we will know who it was, went then and said, no, don't pay these individuals. Now you can void the payments and then get somebody else to be paid. That is what we are trying to cure.
Thank you, Senator. Governor?
Chair,
maybe
I would also want to
Governor, National Treasury is here. They might also help us with some insights.
Okay. Thank you, Honorable Chair and Senators. Probably I would like to hear from the Governor on this issue of the consolidated payment, whereby 2 invoices were consolidated to be paid as one. As an accountant, I would wish to hear what accounting principles would have been offended if the 2 payments would have been made instead of voiding and consolidating. I would also would like probably to be educated. How come that those 2 payments that were voided did not form part of the attachment? Because that would have provided more credibility instead of just making a sweeping statement to explain. And I would also want to comfort that this is not one payment that is repeated twice in terms of payment. Thank you.
Okay, Governor.
Chair, just to start from the reversal, if it's not, he should be able to show us what is it. He can't just assume that it wasn't from facts, as it were. Learning is is a continuous process, and I'm happy when the OAG said they were processed to the payment level. The question, if it was processed to the payment level, or payment made, shows. Now, from actually what my senator said, shows that payment was done. Yes, it's voided, but it was done. so that, Chair, we move with the clear picture that yes, money has been lost here. This voiding, it was for stealing of public money. Otherwise, when you say that is up to payment level, then your assumption is that indeed there was, issues there. We can't move. We can't make progress. We'll be moving around the circles. Therefore, it's up to you to tell us, yes, these voided transactions, seemingly, with the documents we have, payment was done. Money was lost. For us, Chair, the OAG, I think, is not clear on this item. Until he brings those tangibles, as my senator indicated, that's the only time we can be able to make
But
progress.
Governor, that's why I've queried who was present at the meetings that the OAG held in the county. Because the question you are asking the OAG now ought to have been canvassed during the audit and at the closure of the audit. We started our conversation by noting that governance institutions in Kisii have collapsed. They don't have an audit committee. They have gaps in the County Public Service Board. The County Assembly has not interrogated this report. And we can now see that all those omissions are affecting even the audit process. Because I feel frustrated for you to give me an answer which you should have given the Auditor General at the time of audit. I feel frustrated for you to give me an annexure of 50 pages which ought to have been presented to the audit at the time of audit. So, in as much as you're asking the Auditor General to provide certain clarity, that should have been dealt with at the time of audit. Auditor General, are we being fair to you?
Yeah, thank you, Chair. And maybe even before we talk of whether the fund has been lost, even from the position of the voided transaction, which means that the payment has not been done. If you have 604 transactions that has been stopped, you had 232 million that has not been paid. Even as a governor, does it make some concern? And that's why the issue of the voided transaction cuts across the country. So if this payment has not been done, and you're talking of 604, of around 232 million, that has not been paid, and you know probably this payment is due for maybe a supply or something. So the question is, this, of course, it will lead to in terms of unpaid payments and all those things. So look in terms of the global risk, in terms of what this voided transaction is, rather than just looking in terms of the individual cases that we're handling. So look in terms of the global perspective. We are talking of 604 transactions that has been stopped. 202 million has not been paid. Does it distort even your budget process? Does it affect futuristic in terms of the pending bills? Does it affect? There are a lot of inherent risks in terms of these voided transactions.
So, Chair, the Auditor General brings up an interesting point, because, Governor, the interest is to keep your suppliers happy, maybe after the voiding of these transactions. If you look at some of these amounts here, it's not a lot of money. It's 12,000, 18,000 due to a supplier. You would find that these are the regular hustlers of Kisii, I would assume. And the bulk of those 600 transactions are actually figures that are below 50,000, 100,000 Kenya shillings. So I think what the auditor is saying, that beyond this discussion of documentation, luckily the governor knows that I am also an accounting officer. And during our audit at the party headquarters, we have these conversations with the Auditor General, and when they raise questions, you explain those questions. Governor, your team might be letting you down. Those exit meetings that the chair is talking about, when an auditor raises a query, you will see my finance officer, Kawino, will provide those documents immediately, and the question goes away. So the greater question, according to the Auditor General, is yes, these guys are suppliers for the county. They did the job. What is the current situation now? After these contracts or these payments were voided, were they finally paid? Or this is now part of the Kisii pending bills?
That's the question I would ask my people. Were they finally paid? Chacha.
Yeah, because this is tea and mandazi money. 17,000, 12,000, 10,000. Those are hustlers.
Chair, a payment is only possible when it has an approval of the controller. These payments were
Chacha.
They were not paid, Chair.
Up to today, they have not been paid. That's the answer we are looking for, please. Let us not complicate matters. So what is the reason? What usually follows, like after after my payment has been voided as a supplier, what usually happens? What sort of like process follows? What happens?
You're stuck.
Chacha.
It is rebudgeted, Chair.
So it has been rebudgeted?
Correct, Chair.
So if we look at your current budget, we will see provision for this payment. You have your budget here? It's not here. So how do we know that you have budgeted for this money, Chacha?
Yeah, it's not part of our annex just in our today's discussion, but we are ready to provide it.
What guarantees can now these suppliers, these small suppliers, what guarantees are there that after the money is budgeted for, it goes all the way to IB again? What guarantee is there that you will not void these payments this financial year again?
Chair, probably when the auditor will be, as you will be directing, will be revising those voided, you will be able to pick those ones that we've already budgeted and maybe those we've already paid the current financial year.
The question was, what guarantee can you give these suppliers that this time around their payments will not be voided? That you will take it all the way to IB and request for the funds from the control of budget? What guarantee can you give them?
Chair, we can all give an undertaking that we'll pay them.
You can't or you can?
We can. We can only give a guarantee that the payments will be made to them.
Not sure I'm understanding what this is.
Senator Sifuna, I am frustrated because this is not the kind of conversation that in Nairobi language you say it's not the kind of conversation that turns me on, because we can't be here going through a list of 604 transactions, a matter that would have been easily dealt with at the time of audit. The statement of fact by the Auditor General is that they were voided after approval. That is a statement of fact. Everything else is speculative. Everything else is speculative. The only challenge which perhaps someone has raised is that he who alleges must prove. So what we are lacking here is that proof that the letter of credit was granted, as a control of budget says. If we are able to get that established, then this is outright theft of public resources. If we can establish that as a statement of fact. Because the Office of Control of Budget is not a suggestion, it's a constitutional office with a constitutional mandate, Article 228. And we cannot be taking institutions for granted. The same way the Office of the Auditor General is a constitutional office, Article 229. Their job is to report to us whether public funds are being used lawfully and effectively. They have come to Kisii and have said 604 transactions were voided, and therefore that was unlawful. It violates Article 228, and it was not effective. The only thing that I've not seen here that could help me to make a determination and even make recommendation for investigation and prosecution is that evidence that the Auditor General saw. So, Auditor General, this information that was provided, please let us be seized of it so that we confirm that indeed these were approved. And if we get that information, then people like Chacha belong to prison because they've come here to mislead the Senate and they've come here to tender falsehoods in terms of evidence. So I think, members, we need that visibility that the Auditor General has. We cannot depart from this position.
Thank you, Chair.
Chair, among the voided transaction, is Chacha's own, I think, allowance if you check there. Therefore, this one confirms that even in voiding is not necessary for the people. Senator Sifuna was asking, it's not necessarily. These are among the allowances again. I've seen so many because I've gone through this thing, if you look at it keenly. And if you check even Commission of Tax, a number of them there which have been avoided. But as you put it, let us have that communication as it was requested from the OAG.
Senator Nyonka.
Governor, the point I would wish that you zeroed in with your team is very simple. And I think Sifuna, Honorable Sifuna, my leader, has spoken about it. Senator Kajwang has raised this issue. We are saying the law says once the Auditor General approves payment, that is the next move. You go and pay. Under these circumstances, the controller budget, once they have approved payments to be made, you're actually not supposed to reverse that. It's as good as cash, isn't it? Only that it's going to be transmitted electronically into the accounts of the service providers. What is troubling us, and I keep on repeating this, it is not necessarily a Kisii County issue because 70% of the governors are doing this. Why would you reverse approvals by the controller budget for you to pay either institutions or individuals? And then what happens once you have stopped those payments? Do you rebudget with the same names, with the same companies? And in this case, like we have said, we want the auditor to provide us what the controller budget provided as the one pager that we want to do. But I would also, Chair, make a request that the county executive and especially the CEC Finance provides us with the list of after those voidings were done, who were paid immediately after that. Then we can do the comparative analysis.
That's what will give us clarity.
Chair, my final proposal on this matter, because when we sit here, we usually identify gaps in systems and laws, that then we make some suggestions as a committee and recommendations. Control of budget. What is this system that allows county governments to essentially usurp your role as stated by the chair? And what can be done by the Senate, for instance, to tie the hands of the county governments such that once a letter of credit comes from your office, it is physically not possible for anybody to untangle themselves from that situation. What can we do as a Senate to make sure that once you say, pay this money, even if Chacha is as gifted as he sounds, he is not going to be able to mess around with that list and ensures that the people you have approved payment for get that payment. What can we do?
Controller and National Treasury will also chip in. Controller.
Thank you, Chair. Once the controller budget has given approval for payment, that is a single credit into a county operational account, that is from the CRF. She has no sight completely of who is paid. And if I recall, I think this was a discussion that was in the Senate before, where the controller was asking the Senate if she can get the approval of the county CRFs to see who actually benefits from these payments. And I think that is a debate that is still, I'm not sure whether it's still on the floor of the Senate. Yeah.
But why is she requesting, and it is a constitutional responsibility? If she's approving withdrawal from public funds, that withdrawal is for a certain cause, isn't it? They are not withdrawing to keep in a locker. They are withdrawing to pay somebody.
You're very right. I remember the controller asking the Senate to compel CBK to give her those rights.
But this is a system. It's an IT system you're running.
Exactly.
Why is it not possible?
No, the letter of credit is a manual thing.
Yes, it is a manual thing. They collect the paper, the approval, they then go to bank at the CBK. So whatever happens in the county operational account.
This is ridiculous, Honorable Chair. That doesn't make any sense.
Chair, let me to understand this.
Maybe let's hear from Senator Wambua, then
maybe I should be able to understand this. Maybe from Chacha. So when you go to the controller budget with a requisition for approval, you want to pay this guy, okay? So it's part of the requisition. Then they release money for you to go and pay this one. Now, when you go back to Kisii, if you use the same amount that was approved to pay this guy, and you pay this one, who was not part of the requisition, is this okay? Secondly, on this one specifics, and there's a dispute, of course, but are you saying that the 232 million Kenya shillings is still held somewhere in an account, or have you used that money to pay other people?
Governor?
Chair, the question Senator Wambua is asking, is it possible that person A has applied for payment at COB, then after the approval, is it possible that person C could have been paid by the money of person A? I don't think it's possible. And you know that's, if it's possible, I don't know what we call it. But again, Chair, I want to
Governor,
disagree.
Governor, just a minute. Let's distinguish two things. Is it possible? Definitely yes. Is it happening in Kisii? That will be for you to respond. But is it possible to requisition to pay A and pay B? We have seen that in the other 46 countries. So you speak about Kisii.
All right, Chair. I want to vehemently refuse to accept that there was approval, payment by the control of budget. Then those transactions were voided, as by the observation of the OAG. And Chair, instead of us going round, let him provide that evidence that yes, this so much 200 and something was approved, you did not pay, you voided. Therefore, we'll be able to ask these people, why did you void these transactions?
Yeah, because we are...
That's fair.
Yeah,
that case, then the assumption will be, then the 202 million is seated, say,
still there. Yes, it must be.
No, but Chacha said the rebudget.
Being rebudgeted, Chair, it's there. As long as it has not been paid to any ghost individuals outside there.
No. Governor, the disclaimer that the chair gave you there is a very important disclaimer. Just speak about Kisii and what happens, because in our other counties, we have seen that the intention of your staff is just to obtain that approval by the control of budget. And once that money hits the account of Kisii County, they void the list they used to get the approval and now pay the people that they want. We have seen, I've not seen it in Kisii, but I've seen it here in Nairobi, where now there is a preferred list of the people who have spoken well, quote unquote, to the staff in the office. People are on commissions, percentages, and those are the people who are paid. Wale vichwa ngumu, those ones who don't want to play the game, those are the transactions that are voided. So when we go through this list, Governor, I'm happy you have said that some of the people here are not necessarily hustlers. But if you look at those amounts, they're an average of below 100,000 Kenya shillings. And that is why we want to have that conversation. And I think the chair has given the way forward. Sure. So if you can guarantee us that no approval came from the COP, no money came to the CRF, that's 232, and that if it came, it is still there, nobody else was paid using that list, then you should be clear. That is the only reason why you would clear the committee's concerns.
Correct. Senator Marum?
Yeah, Chair, it is possible, from my experience, that you can requisition for money, you get the money into a CRF account, and pay different people. And that's one of the reasons why we have increase in pending bills, because then when you want to pay somebody and you pay a different person, then that payment that was intended then becomes a pending bill. But to the control of budget, there's something that you're saying, that once you allow money to be paid to the CRF of a county, then you have no authority to get the data or the statements from Central Bank of Kenya. What type of authority do you require? So much so that when you allow that payment to take place, then you need to follow up from the counties to ensure that the 100 million that was allowed is paid to the intended people. What type of authority do you require? And from who?
Yeah, I think that's where we now need a solution. I want to hear from the COB, I want to hear from the Treasury, and also want to hear from the Governor why they have a problem providing that visibility to the controller?
Thank you, Chair. Providing visibility to the control of budget will really help a lot in terms of looking at who is the final beneficiary of payments that she has approved. As the way things stands right now, she has not that visibility of the county operations account, the 47 of them.
National Treasury, Reverend?
Thank you, Honorable Chair. Being given visibility from Treasury's point of view, it is something that is possible. What I don't know is that where the Office of the Control Budget, they have made that requisition to Treasury. That one I'm not very sure whether they have done it.
Let's hear, Governor, why is there a problem providing that visibility to the control of budget?
Chair, I may not comment so much on it, but the question is, after the money has left, all the approvals left COB, it goes to central bank. Therefore, it's very easy for them, again, to check on the list from central bank who hasn't paid. It's easy. So that now it's more easier. Next time when you're doing a requisition, you are told so many people that you had done requisition, you did not pay. You paid your own things. We're not going to do what? To approve the next payment until you explain why did you pay wrong people. This is like that. It's only that the system could have.
So who's, you know, we are not here just to count the pennies. We are also here to come up with policy and legislative recommendations. There is a problem in other counties. You're saying it's not a problem in Kisii, but it's a problem in other counties. What Senator Mwaruma has described. The control of budget is seeking the help of the Senate. The Treasury is saying they've not been requested. The governor is saying there is no problem, it can be done. So what is the solution? I thought we had a problem, but everyone is saying that there is no problem. But I know for a fact that when the controller wrote to counties requesting for that visibility, the Council of Governors wrote back a very nasty letter.
That is what I wanted to remind the Chair, that the Council of Governors was very categorical, that now the control of budget wants to micromanage counties. But here, I think, Chair, the solution is on our side. Together with the control of budget, we should agree on whatever rules or legislation that needs to be changed to give that visibility to the COB. Because that would strike a very serious blow for devolution, and especially for suppliers who, for whatever reasons, decide to do business in a scrupulous manner and ensure that there is no loss of public funds. So that one, I think, has to be left to us. Because if you leave it to the goodwill of Simba, even though he's a good man, it might not happen. It might not happen. Let us just tie the hands. The legislative process in this country is just about tying people's hands. Because for as long as there's any wiggle room, they will wiggle. Yeah, they will wiggle.
Okay, finally, Senator Onyonka, and then I can see Chacha in Parliament, you don't raise your hand. We are not in a class. So I will maybe find out what he wants to hear. I have had very interesting, what he wants to say, because I've had interesting conversations where an officer insists on speaking and accuses the boss of a lot of things. So, Chacha, I'll give you the mic.
Chair, it's just that I've been hands-on on this issue of interaction with the COB for the last 13 years. That experience, that's what I wanted to contribute to the COB in the House. They might not be doing it in the system, Chair, but they are doing it manually. What I'm saying, Chair, any subsequent exchequer request you present to the controller budget, you must present bank statement, CBK bank statement of the previous requisition you did. Did you pay the right people? And what is the current balance in your operation account? That must be provided before they consider the request, subsequent request you provide, Chair.
Is it automated or it's all manual?
It's manual, but Chair, you print both Excel and PDF. You can't edit, Chair.
To Excel, you can do whatever you want.
Export PDF
And a PDF, you can save a Word document as a PDF.
I don't know where Chacha was during the Supreme Court case. Chacha. People are editing from 34.
Even PDF can be edited.
Yes, it was a matter
so that does not give us any comfort.
Yeah. Chair, I just wanted to say that, Chair, you know, I have been very passionate about this issue. I think finally we're where we should be. These are the guardrails that have been deliberately emasculated to make sure that the financial platforms, I mean, Chair, let's be honest, the IFMI system has only been domesticated in Treasury last year, isn't it? There is no end-to-end encryption. So we are saying, allow us to have the evidence, who was paid, who made the approvals, the visibility, the ability for the controller budget to see who's being paid, I believe has deliberately been made to be opaque. And that is why I'm so happy that finally we are zeroing on this issue. Can we find out why this system is actually not functioning the way it's meant to function? Thank you.
I think we shall be required to interrogate quite a number of stakeholders in this matter as a house, as a committee.
Yes.
Because we are likely not to get an answer from any of these people, because what we call a charger, the information that she has given is not something that is searchable, that can be tabled. Yeah? Oh, sorry. I didn't see her. You know, we finally, Chair, I think we are the ones to make a decision on this matter. Because this is cancerous. It's something that's eating quite a number of counties.
And you remember, as you recall, it's not an idle. It's not an idle observation.
I think I like the way Senator Sifuna put it, because I think there is a lot of quite a number of cartels in the counties where people who are correctly in some good positions in good arrangements are paid, and then the rest of the people. That's why you hear people crying all over. People are being auctioned. Yeah, you have done a road, you have done some schools there, you have done some institutions, you are not paid.
It's actually, you know, when it does not have to be a KISI problem, but I think we need to look at it as a national systems controls problem. And this is what has brought down quite a number of SACCOs. Because in a SACCO, there's a committee that approves loans. And then once the committee has approved the loans, the officers, the technical officers, decide to disburse to people who are not approved. And I think there's certain live matters of that nature. So we must tighten the systems so that once the control of budget has made an approval, that approval can be reversed only under certain circumstances. And I think the National Treasury provides certain guidelines. Any approval that has been granted, which has to be reversed, there needs to be documentation. There needs to be an audit trail. So, Gilbert, I think you guys are approaching this from a perspective of weakness. You've got a lot of powers in the Constitution, and you can enforce this for you to be able to achieve your constitutional mandate. Clerk, there was something you wanted to say?
Yeah, I just wanted to say something, Chair, about this system, arising from the conversation of the committee in the previous year about avoiding of transactions. I think there is a conversation, there is a system development. This is being rolled out currently by CBK, T24 and Infinity, that is going to replace the IB system. I don't know whether the COB or the Treasury are aware of it, and whether the COB is going to be looped in it.
I hope it won't be worth 104 billion.
Let's first understand if it solves the problem we are talking about. We agree that at a minimum, an entity should not be able to void a transaction once it has been approved by the COB. Is that what the system is coming to do, Tim?
I'm not sure, but I think the officers from the counties have been taken through the system. I don't know whether KC has been part of the...
You are not answering our question.
I'm not sure.
Is it coming to solve the problem, or is just a procurement like the one the chair is talking about of 104 billion at share?
Chair, I can confirm that is going to cure. That's what I'm getting from my CEC. But you can say.
Yes, are you aware of it?
Thank you, Chair. We were trained last week and we have been ordered to make sure before 22nd of April we avoided all the transactions. Once you make an application, it's going to deduct money directly to the central bank. So you will never have it to hold the money. So I can confirm that that system and the issue of voided transaction is going to be a thing of the past. Thank you, Chair.
Okay. Senator Nairobi.
The solution was always here in the room, and they allowed us to go round and round for hours. Chair.
Yeah, you should have told us there's something that is being worked on. Okay, now we've taken a lot of time on this because in our earlier brief, we thought that this was quite significant, the way it has been framed, that the controller has approved and you have voided. I think that would be a gross illegality, but we'll wait for the Auditor General to provide us with the evidence. As I'd said at the beginning, a number of the issues in this report ought to have been addressed through the audit committees, ought to have been addressed through a much more useful engagement at the audit process. There are only 8 issues that the Auditor General tells us have been addressed. We had had this conversation earlier, and we had said we are going to adopt the 8 issues that are addressed. The 50-something issues that are still outstanding, we are also going to adopt the Auditor General's report and then make recommendations for appropriate action, which is follow-up and closure within a prescribed framework. So the House is going to advise us on the 27th of March on how long we should give you to close these issues. Because as I'd said, there are some things here which you cannot sit in Nairobi and resolve. The pit latrines and the ECD classrooms and the roads that the auditor has flagged. Now, for the record, Auditor General, which are the issues that in your estimation have been addressed? I think they were under use of goods and services.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. It's under use of goods and services. That is page 3 on the summary briefs.
So, which one has been...
yes, Chair. Which paragraph?
2.1. Paragraph 2.1.
2.1, you had queried 4.5 million for printing advertising.
Yeah, Chair, here the issue was the payment vouchers were not provided at the time of audits, but currently those payment vouchers has been provided.
They have been provided, so the 4.5 million has now been supported.
Yes.
The next one?
2.2, unsupported expenditure, utility supplies and services. We queried around 6 million. Again, the management, the issue is here, the payment vouchers and the relevant supporting documents were not provided. And currently the management were able to provide that. So the payment vouchers
so just to confirm that, for example, 2.2, just randomly, could we see the annexure, the supporting documentation for the 6 million? Because yes, we would agree with you, but also we have a responsibility to verify. Governor, which annexure supports the 6 million under 2.2?
2.2.
Annex?
Oh, Mr. Chair.
Quite a lot of...
Page 305, yeah.
305, page 305.
So, Auditor, you had queried the payment voucher and supporting documents. I can see a payment voucher here where the payee is Kenya Power. Is that the one? Yes. The 6 million was paid to Kenya Power?
Yes. Yeah, at the time of audit, this voucher was not availed, but now we are seeing the voucher.
Governor, why are you making your life complicated? You are paid Kenya Power, which obviously must be a legitimate payment. Now, the people of Kisii, in their mind, will equal 6 million, as per this report. Because these reports, when they come out, people make conclusions. If these records were available in the entity, why were they not provided to the Auditor General?
Chairman, over 2 years, is a fight back and forth on making system work. Therefore, you'll find that even documents missed intentionally because they would want, the same people, Mr. Chair, they would even give the Auditor General that investigate this particular item of Kenya Power. We're not sure that it was paid. Then later on they produce, because again, the perception which is created outside there, as you put it, when the report is out there, is that this money has been stolen. Until today, we told people that yes, there was a voucher of 6 million, which emerged from either it dropped here on the floor of the office. Nobody can believe. The voucher is work in progress. Civil service, I've not been there before. You realize that it's very hard to deal with the individuals, but when systems they are working, indeed, we'll be able to have things working. With accruing accounting of that, we'll be able to sort a number of these problems going forward.
But the accounting standards will not solve your human resource problems. Because what you're talking about is probably sabotage or you're carrying baggage. It is your job to fix it.
Chair, as it were, you realize that human nature, it takes time. When people they are used to a certain system, to change them, either is you'll break them. Things have to really.
Let's be specific. Who has the job of providing documentation and supporting evidence for this 6 million? Who is that person?
Is that accountant, Chair?
Who is that? What's the name of that person, or what is that position?
I may not know every person who's supposed, but the person who was asked to provide that voucher and did not present. Chair, I've read Arati action since this report, because this report, when it came out on the roll, as it were, before it was all over how Kisii has wasted public money. Then I've told them, anybody who answered a question with the Auditor General ought to tell us what did he do at that particular time to get the right information.
Have you taken administrative action on the person who was supposed to do this simple task? Because you can be frustrated, you can express frustration, but you have the instrument of taking administrative action. And that's why I said at the beginning that officers have been hiding behind the back of the governor, because it's a governor who takes the questions. We want now to go directly. This is, I said earlier, this is a waste of the time of the Senate. 6 million, and I see the payment voucher here. I see a schedule of meters. Why should it be a big issue that ends up in an audit report, Governor? Have you taken administrative action?
Chair, on that same issue, you see, Governor, as the Chair said, today is a Monday. Definitely the senators would be engaged doing other things, but we're here to look at the accounts of Kisii County. And you come across a payment, a voucher, that is as authentic as they come. But at the time of the audit, this document was not there. Now, you speak to us about sabotage, and I'm wondering, where are those saboteurs? Are they at lower cadre, or actually those saboteurs could be seated just next to you? Because at what point do you make demands that certain documents must be availed for purposes of audit? Governor, I will put this to you, that we can do whatever we want to do. We can say all the things that we want to say. But once an audit report is out, that is what sticks in the minds of your people. That the governor ate 6 million of our money that was supposed to be paid to Kenya Power. It doesn't matter whether you now go and present those documents, the vouchers. Once the train has left the station, the train has left the station. Pick it up the next station. So those saboteurs, Governor, what we are saying is, they are not just hurting you as governor, they're not just hurting the image of your county, they are also making us spend our time in a manner that is not useful. We are not supposed to be getting vouchers on the day that we are reviewing your documents. Those vouchers are supposed to be availed to the auditors during the time of audit.
And you'll see the next query, I'm looking at your next years, payments made to Safaricom, payments made to Nation Media Group. You know, it's not like the payment made to officers. They are not even payment made to some random suppliers. Things that can be easily explained. Senator Nyonka, then Senator Sifuna.
Chair, Governor, you are CEO of Finance. Who is it Mr. Chacha? Yeah. No. The reason why I'm raising, if you look at that voucher, the CEO of Finance has actually endorsed it. And I just wanted to ask why the CEO of Finance found it very difficult to produce this voucher, because there are copies available in his office as it's moved from stage 1, stage 2, stage 3. Why was the Auditor General not able to be given this voucher to validate a simple payment like this?
Yep. Senator Sifuna? Yeah, I'm sure the same frustration.
I want to help the governor of Kisii. If there are saboteurs in your administration, you allow us to deal with them. Don't protect anybody. Because unfortunately for you, you also hold a very high office in a political party. He's essentially my boss, the chair. And when such accusations are made against a governor from my party, I have a lot of difficulty explaining myself in the public. So I will not allow it to happen, Governor. As I told you, I'm also an accounting officer. I am audited. We go through this process. Luckily for me, I have a fantastic team at the party headquarters, led by Joshua Kawino, somebody who you know very well. There is no way, Governor, Kawino can be asked to provide a voucher, and he doesn't provide it, and it ends up as an audit query. That is why, for the past 15 years, ODM has had a clean audit. I've never had to appear before a committee of parliament to be grilled the way that you're being grilled. The law is very clear that failure to provide a document at the point of audit is actually an offense. So allow us to identify these characters who are sabotaging your administration. Because this is something that, as the chair has rightfully noted, can very easily be used to mudsling a county governor, where there is no wrongdoing, no money has been lost, just somebody failing to provide a voucher when they should provide a voucher. So this one is unacceptable, Governor. It's unacceptable, and Chair, for me, we identify the officers responsible for production of documents. I think you will remind us, clerk, what the law says, the responsibility to produce documents during audit. That officer, Governor, even if he's your friend, deliver him to our hands. You just wash your hands and let the Senate do with him as it will please. Because we cannot allow this to continue, and we shouldn't be sitting here to look at vouchers. You are not like Isiolo. And I can see the senator of Isiolo has walked in. We are not like Isiolo, because the documents you present here, they look like authentic documents. You should just have provided them during the time of audit.
Chair, you know,
Senator,
my good friend, Governor, confirmed there are some people who are trying to sabotage him. Actually, that was his assertion the very moment that he started talking. Maybe he could tell us more. Yeah, maybe these people are just feeling himself. Maybe they are, you know, he just confirmed himself. Maybe they are, because it is not logical that auditors are here. You can't produce a voucher. The CEO Finance is there, CC Finance is there. Then until when you come before the commission, that's when the vouchers are there. And you know these are records. Yeah. Governor, could you
can you name them?
You name and assume.
Chair, I will take the ball, the individuals who are supposed to play. Allow me, because out of this, and I am happy that we are discussing about this discussion, and it's good that I've brought before you. And I've tried to bring these people before the Senate, including my CEC and the other staff that they are supporting me, to answer these questions. But for sure, Chair, you'll hear a lot of noise. There will be a lot of cries. Because most of them, they will be given a process of dismissal from service. There are people who have refused actually to move with me. Therefore, the only thing is that we'll have to follow due process to ask them and work elsewhere, either in their homes, all other opportunities they will be able to get outside there. Therefore, Chair, the only promise is that even in the next meeting, I will have come up with individuals and their role. Because as you have put it, we cannot be discussing of 6 million. Forget about 6. You will see there is many other things. When I was going through the report, I'm like, really? This kind of thing is what you want us to go to the Senate to answer? These things could have been done at the county level. Therefore, Chair, I'm happy that you have asked. I'll give those up to us.
Now, who's the head of the treasury in the county?
The CC Finance.
CC Finance. Are you a finance person?
I'm not an accountant by profession.
What's your profession?
I'm becoming insurance.
You are an insurer?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
The Chief Officer of Finance, is the Chief Officer of Finance present? Yes. Chief Officer of Finance?
Yes, Vincent Okioma, the Chief Officer of Finance.
What's your background, profession?
International relations.
First of all, Senator Dulo, Senator Lelegwe, please go on record.
Dulo, Senator Isiola, member of the...
Senator Lelegwe?
I'm Lelegwe, Senator for Samburu, member of the committee.
Yeah, the two senators were with us earlier. They had to go for another meeting. I know we have not put it as a requirement in law that for you to be a chief officer, CEC Finance, you must have, you must be a round peg in a round hole. But perhaps those are, you know, you are international relations guy. You can do very well in another function, rather than preparation of financial statements, unless there is something extremely special about him. Because that is why we're having these problems. So it's like Nairobi County, where the fire department has got theologians and librarians. How are you going to be able to solve these things if you're putting round pegs in square holes?
So Governor, maybe who signed the statements?
Chair, the head of Treasury is the CFO.
No.
The
head of Treasury is defined in the PFM.
That's true,
It's
Chair.
defined in the PFM, and is the Auditor General. It's there in the PFM. It's not, that one is not subject to your executive order. That job description is defined. And it's actually the CEC Finance. The accounting officer there is a chief officer. The CFO would work under the direction and guidance of those two. Those two positions are extremely important. But governors want to give them to buddies, people that they can meet behind the tent.
Not necessarily, Chair. It's not issues. When you have made them behind the tent, then what?
So
what happens?
Governor, what happens behind the tent remains there. It remains there, so we wouldn't know.
Yeah, I think we need to professionalize the public service even in counties. And maybe it's time for us to make it a requirement from our observations, to make it a requirement that at a minimum the chief officer finance ought to be someone who's well-versed, so that they can take professional responsibility. A lot of these things, I'm seeing an accountant has signed your financial statements. Vincent Okioma Nyangwara, that's the IR guy. Yeah, Vincent can do well as an ambassador, because that's what international relations people do. Now, I'm seeing someone assigned here as head of accounting unit without putting the name. Who is this person? ISPAC member number 13733. Yes, what is your role in the county?
I was formerly head of accounts.
And currently?
At the CFO.
Currently the CFO.
Yeah.
So the CFO reports to the chief officer, finance.
Yeah, yes.
So we have had these conversations that people with professional responsibility, like members of ISPAC, members of the Law Society of Kenya, members of, are you an ACI? CC?
ACI.
You are an ACI.
ACI.
Yeah, so you also have some professional responsibility, which I'll be reporting you to your professional bodies for disciplinary action. And we have agreed with ISPAC that that should be the route, because how can accountants prepare financial statements that get adverse disclaimers, or financial statements, then they say that it presents a true and fair picture of the enterprise, and yet we've got such ridiculous audit issues pending. So I think that's a general recommendation that we'll be making on professional responsibility. So the next matter, I think 2.3 is also addressed.
Yes, addressed.
Payments to Safaricom, payments to Nation Media Group. 2.4, unsupported legal expenses.
That one not addressed. Probably the next one should be on page 18 of the summary.
So before you go to page 18, there was a matter of irregular earnings of salary by the county attorney. Is that one resolved?
Not resolved.
Perhaps let's look at that and see what is outstanding. Irregular earnings of salary by the county attorney, that should be paragraph 3.4. Yeah. Auditor, what was your observation?
Yeah.
Just read your finding.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. 3.4, that's page 6 of the certificate. Irregular earning of the salary by the county attorney. The review of the records of the county executive revealed that a governor appointed an officer as county attorney via Gazette Notice number 14717 on 30th November 2022, and the letter of the appointment issued on 1st December 2022. However, a private citizen proceeded to the Employment and Labor Relations Court at Kisumu to contest the employment of the county attorney and file a petition on a petition file a petition. On 24 January 2024, the Employment and Labor Relations Court at Kisumu quashed the appointment of the officer through a judgment delivered virtually. However, as at the time of the audit, September 2024, the officer continued being in the payroll and had received a salary of around 3.3 million from January 2024 to August 2024. In circumstances, the regularity of the expenditure of 3.3 million could not be confirmed.
Governor, what was your response?
Chair, thank you. Management response. The audit review included 3 months' expenditure that ought not to have been included in the review as follows. The judgment from the Employment and Labor Court at Kisumu was delivered on 24th January 2024, and the officer earned salary for the month while in office. This month ought to have been excluded from the review period. Further, the amount of August and September 2024 ought to have been excluded from the review period since the financial year 2023-2024, and the review ended on 30th June 2024. Nonetheless, the net salary remitted to officer salary account for the period February 2024 to June 2024 was 955,000, and the figure reached a maximum of 1.343340.95 for 7 months, inclusive of August and September 2024. Despite receiving the above sum of 1.340,000 shillings and 95 cents into his account as salary for the month of February to August 2024, the officer never utilized the money but returned the same to the county government and only requested for a refund after the Court of Appeal set aside the decision of the Employment and Labor Court at Kisumu, effectively reinstating him to the office. The officer was not removed from the payroll as the county government filed an appeal to the Court of Appeal immediately after delivery of the Labor Court judgment. And it would be improper to remove the officer from the payroll before exhausting the remedy of appeal. And Chairman, all those chronology in terms of, we have put them in Annexure 1, 2, up to 10A, notice of appeal against the Employment and Labor Court at Kisumu. 10B, judgment from the Court of Appeal, setting aside the Labor Court judgment. Letter from the officer to SBM Bank applying for an escrow account. Letter from the officer to CSM, Finance and Economic Planning, requesting for bank detail to return deposits the salary remitted to the officer's account. Response from the CCM Finance and Economic Planning, giving county government accounting, providing county government bank details. 10F RTGS of 30th September 2024, remitting the said funds back to county government. 10G, letter from the officer requesting for refund of the said salary after being declared by the Court of Appeal. Thank you, Chair.
So what was the problem with, and the gentleman to your right introduced himself as county attorney. Is he the person in question?
Yes.
So is he in office properly?
Yes.
When the Auditor General says that he's earning a salary, yet he's not supposed to be in office, what evidence do you have to support that or to dispute that?
Chair, there is the ruling of the Court of Appeal. It's there.
I'm looking at it, and pages 494, 493, 492, 491 and 490 are ineligible in my bundle. Are you as here, members? Because I was trying to see the final directives of the court on that matter.
Chair, so I will request for proper guidance. You know, you guided us very well at the beginning and said that we are not conducting audit here. We're just reviewing what has been brought to us. And I think we are at a point, and I need the Auditor General to hear this, that it is the Auditor General who has picked this up. So perhaps he should be the one to give us, to guide us on this one, based on the principle of he who alleges must prove. So it is him to tell us now what he has on these people, then we can ask them to respond to.
Yeah, but there's a technical issue that the chair has raised, Governor. The people who printed out these documents for you, they also do you a lot of injustice in the service. As you can imagine me having to read a document that looks like this.
I thought it was only mine that...
I cannot make out what this order says.
Is that consistent across?
Chair, you can have mine here if that one is not clear, because...
But Governor, you should not take nice things for yourself and then you give us the bad things. Sure, it's very unfair. So, because the relevant decision of the court should be at page 493 to 494, which we can't read. Maybe you can tell us that 494, yeah. 490.
Actually, all the way from 490.
From 476, but allow me to give you, if that one, we are sorry for that.
Now, Auditor General, I don't know whether you had a copy that was legible, so what's your update on this before we probe further?
Yeah, thank you, Chair. For us, our copies are not also clear, and that's why it's very hard. But the issue here is inclusion of September to August. You know, for us, we receive the financial statement by the 1st of September. And that doesn't mean that we get a cutoff from 30th June. So July and September, we included the amount. Secondly, in regard to the refund, which maybe in terms of the management have been indicated, it's not clear whether this money has been refunded. You know, from the response, it's indicating that the fund has been refunded. And if it has been refunded, then it could be an acknowledgement amount that can be seen and it can be verifiable in terms of the fund has been refunded. Annex 10C, which talk of letter of the officers asking SBM Bank applying for escrow account. You know, the issue is again, what's the basis of opening an escrow account? When on the other hand, we are getting information that from the response that the CEC Finance was able to provide an account details for the where the money should be returned back. So in terms of applying the escrow account, in terms of the evidence whether the fund has been refunded, it's not clear to us. And those are some of the things that makes the issue more of outstanding and not resolved. Again, in terms of the court, now that it has been appealed, so for us, our position still, again, stands until maybe another ruling arises.
So, Governor, where are we? Because glancing through, I can see that the substantive issue that was raised by the petitioners was whether you can pluck a county attorney from the air and send to the assembly for vetting, and whether the assembly conducted proper public participation. Were those the substantive issues, or there was something else? Was it about the qualification? Was it about the integrity of the appointee?
Chair, allow me to ask the accountant, because his grasp of that item, that's why he went all the way to the court.
He has a pecuniary interest in the matter.
Chair,
we are talking about him getting benefits. The Auditor General is saying he's earning a salary when he's not supposed to earn. So
he is the beneficiary of that query, so he cannot be the one.
Right, Chair, let me answer. But again, I want to say is that the auditor's observation is wrong, because it's important for you to have gotten it right. You are saying you are auditing up to June 30th, but you went ahead to do extra that 2 months, which was supposed to literally to have come in the following subsequent
Governor,
financial year.
pause it there. Pause it there. There are fiduciary issues which the auditor has cited, but I'm more interested in, because this matter can help us resolve a lot of things.
Yes.
A number of senators here are grappling with abuse of power by governors who decide that they want to have 40 advisors. And they don't go through any vetting, they don't go through any recruitment process. And there's an argument that a governor can have as many advisors as they want. So I can see in this particular matter, someone was saying that the person who went to court said, for you to send the name of a county attorney to the assembly, perhaps it must be preceded by an advertisement and a recruitment process. What was the position of the court on that?
Chair, the position of the court, as it were, and in the earlier, even the same charge had been overruled by the same Court of Appeal in a case of, is it not Kakamega, the neighboring county? Which county was that? Vihiga, in the previous term, where the same charge was overruled by the Court of Appeal, that in the appointment of the county attorney, it did not need to be advertised. But he went ahead again, ignored the Court of Appeal's decision, and, dismissed the case and removed the officer from the office. That prompted for us to proceed to Court of Appeal to check with their earlier ruling. And they upheld the ruling that the judge again erred in his decision. Chair, that was the case.
So, Malcolm, in the County Attorneys Act, because you are the ones who processed that law, is there a recruitment procedure for the county attorney? You'll need to check on that, because it would have been, my life would have been easier if these pages, if I could read. I would not be asking
please
you.
Allow me to give you this.
How do you multiply it by 7? Because every member has a right to probe this.
Anybody who has, I'm sure there are clear copies.
So, in essence, the Court of Appeal reinstated the county attorney.
Indeed.
And what was that refund for, if he was reinstated?
No, it's thoroughly, because he was in office. Until, if he wasn't there, for money would have not been paid to him. And that money was held there, Chair. And that's where we are getting a problem with the OAG.
Did the county attorney send back that salary?
Which salary, Chair? Because he is entitled at the end.
Here, RTGS's ETC.
Yes. Chair, that
What
money,
was that
because at the time the court was going on, that's the time now he decided that, because we didn't know the outcome of the Court of Appeal. Therefore, he had to return the money that he had been sent to his account back.
And that is an extendee.
That's D.
So Annex 10D is headed office of the county attorney, saying the Court of Appeal set aside the judgment.
10F. Yeah, this 10F is...
Senator Nyonka?
OAG, had you looked at their response on the same matter? Does it change anything for you, or you take the same position as the same?
We have seen the responses, but in terms of the clarity of the document we have, it's not clear. You see, like now, in terms of RTGS, it's not clear for us.
In other words, you have no evidence that
We
the
have no
money...
evidence to confirm the fund that
The county attorney is saying he deposited in the bank. There's no evidence to confirm that or not. That's what you're saying.
Our position is until we get the clear documents,
yes,
we can't able to sustain.
So, Auditor, are you saying this is the first time you're seeing these documents? You're seeing them with us, together with us here?
Sure, the documents have been availed earlier on, but in terms of even the clarity, it's not there.
No, you saw that when we were given these documents, we have raised the issue of their legibility immediately. I'm asking, when was the first time you saw those documents? And whether you have told the governor that they supplied illegible documents and had opportunity to get fresh ones.
Maybe through the share, I think that's why from our submission.
Did you see the original documents?
We have not seen the original documents, and that's why from our brief feedback, we say that the issue has not been addressed.
But Auditor, I said also, I am also audited. There is no way I can give you a document that you can't read and you just keep quiet, wait for the committee hearings. That's not possible. It's not prudent. You saw the chair raise it immediately, he saw his copy. We are seeing these documents ourselves today. So if you get a document from an entity that you can't read, it's also your responsibility to raise it to them. You ask for clearer copies. Maybe the governor would agree and you his copy the way he offered me.
Senator Nyonka? Senator Mpo?
Yes. One of the issues that has come out of this issue, and I think my colleagues are putting a finger on it, my question goes to the OAG. Did you go through the process of the recruitment of the county attorney to confirm whether that was done within the law or not? Or did you rely on the evidence provided from the ruling in court? Because that, I believe that is a dispute, isn't it? Could I be wrong?
Through the share, we relied on, when you do the reviews, and probably you can see the issue has been escalated to the court, and the court has made its pronouncement on terms of that recruitment. So we pick that as an evidence.
Chair, maybe just two issues from the OAG. When you flag the issue of non-refund, or there being no clarity as to whether a refund was made, what document would you have expected to get from the county government of Kisii to prove that money had been refunded? What document did you want to get from them?
Thank you. One of the things that we need to expect is the bank statement showing the reflection of the amount has been transferred, and it has been reflected in the accounts of the county government. Secondly, probably an acknowledgement also to showing that the money has also been received with the payee or the person who have already funded the payments. Those are some of the things that
Thank you. So on just those two documents, did you receive any of those documents? Did you ask for those documents and did you receive them?
No, we have not received the bank statement in terms of the reflections, and we have not received the acknowledgements to indicate that the money has been received.
Okay. So, Chair, I rest my case.
So, okay, Senator Nyonka.
So what you're saying is actually the dispute that you are handling is not even with the process on how he was hired, only that you're saying that he was earning a salary when he shouldn't have been earning that salary. Then within the law, what does it mean when you earn a salary that you should not earn?
For us, it's irregular because if the court has pronounced that this staff has been recruited irregularly, and the court has already made a pronouncement on that, so what is the position? And you see those are court rulings that has already been done. Then the office just rely on that court ruling in terms of the irregularity of the recruitments.
Governor, you will help yourself, you will help us, you will help the people of Kisii by making sure that your internal audit, your audit committees are in place. Because these are issues that are easily verifiable. I think the auditor is just saying there's something that you're supposed to have given them that you did not give them in terms of evidence. But for me, really, the big thing is, has it been settled that the county attorney is now properly in office?
Yeah, the Court of Appeal has settled on this matter, that the county attorney is properly in office. And, you know, there is a question Senator Dulo asked. Did they see the originals in their entry and exit? You know, we could have expected the OAG to tell us that he asked for those documents, he was not given. But by assumption that because he was given an illegible document, he could write his report. Therefore, and again, you are doing us a disservice, Bana OAG.
Order, Governor, leave the OAG out of this, because this judgment was delivered on, what date was it?
October?
October, 29th of October, 2024. Was it available to the auditor at that point? During the audit, because the auditor was on site up to, I think by this date, the audit was ongoing.
Yes, it was. So, and actually, he has indicated clearly that he captured even for September. Therefore, he must have interacted with those documents as they were.
So, Auditor, I may have missed that because I'm sure members asked. You are aware of this decision of the Court of Appeal?
Here, we are not aware about that appeal. What we are aware of is the court ruling, which was dated on 24th of January.
Or the initial one?
The initial one.
Yeah, because this has changed things.
Probably this has changed things. Again, I think as governor has pointed out, some of the things we really even appeal to the governors. Most of the governors are now attending even the entry meeting and exit meeting.
Yes.
And I think it will be very good if we can also appeal to the governor himself for him to be participating in those meetings.
I agree. Because you come here to defend things that have been done by your officers. It will add a lot of value to do what the auditor is saying. Because I'm sure at the exit, if you saw this kind of query, you ought to have given the Auditor General the Court of Appeal ruling.
And I want to agree with you that going forward, OAG must be sure, even for me to make sure these people, any of the requests you have put across and they have not, so that from there we deal with them at that level, instead of us coming to really do it at the same.
To do it here. Yeah. This kind of audit observation, I mean, this guy is going to be lynched by people who don't like you. They'll say the Auditor General has said he's earning money that he's not supposed to earn. They have already done that. Yeah. Shida za kujiletea. Because by the time you start explaining there was a Court of Appeal ruling, the guy is gone. So please, let's take this audit exercise seriously so that we can be efficient across the board from all sides. And that's why I don't think the Auditor General is to be fixed. It is your people who have a responsibility that they have abdicated. So then I think, Malcolm, you look at that decision of the Court of Appeal, it can help us to deal with some of the emerging issues in Isiolo, in Samburu, and other counties where there seems to be arbitrary hiring. I don't know whether that decision related only to the office of the county attorney, or it gave the governor power to just appoint anybody as long as the assembly is required to vet.
Chair, law must be followed. There is nothing like arbitrarily choosing anybody from the air, put him in the office. Law has to be followed. Even for those advisors, as it were, law has to be followed because it has passed through the cabinet. In doing so, until then you send these names to the board for suitability interview for you to have them. Therefore, it's not picking anybody from wherever you put him there, Mr. Chair.
So we look at the County Attorney Act and see whether there needs to be some amendments to it. So I think then, Auditor General, since we are going to have an implementation timeframe, that will give you time to look at this and tell us that now you are satisfied that there was no loss of public funds. Now,
I don't know if there would be some way forward in as far as the qualifications of the CCM and the CCO for finance is concerned. Do you think you want to make some guideline or some direction? Because they are not qualified. I think we need expert people, either the CCM or the CCO, one of those two, I don't know.
Senator Maruma, I'm very convinced that we need to make that amendment. Because when I look at the job description of a CEC Finance and Chief Officer Finance in the PFM Act and regulations, those are extremely important positions in county governments. They are very important. And I think we must give way for merit. We must give way for professionalism. There is no requirement in law, but Senator, I think I want to agree with you. From my experience sitting on this chair for this while, because a county attorney to advise you ought to be a member of the Law Society of Kenya. The CEC Finance, who advises you on fiscal matters, also needs to be of a relevant profession. Your chief officer, who is the accounting officer, a very, very powerful role. Even if you want to put a friend, look for a friend with the right qualification. So if governors are not going to do it, then we'll probably need to compel them through legislation. I remember one county where the chief officer of finance was a retired ECD teacher. So he has already retired and he has spent all his professional life at the early childhood stage. And I mean, ECD teachers are very special people. Someone who can teach a child to write and read is very, very, it's very important. But when you put them in the chief officer's position, then you end up with 64 audit queries. These are the results. So, Senator, I do agree. We need to push for that recommendation. Now, Auditor General, let's then adopt the other issues that you have resolved. What's the next one?
It's 5.3. That is page 18 on the summary.
5.3. Overpayment for printing and supply of assorted materials. There was an overpayment, and then the S13s and S11s were not provided for audit. Has that now been provided?
Yes, yeah, this has been provided.
Yeah, so the same frustration we had in the others. So we can adopt that. Which other one?
Page 22.
So, for example, 5.4, that comes after. 5.4, in terms of recommendation, we must refer this to the county assembly for verification. These roads, Road 1 all the way to Road 11, culverts not installed, only 0.4 kilometer was gravelled, 1.6 was opened, graded but not gravelled. Even though, honourable members, I suspect this could form part of what you call ward-based projects in counties. So are the MCAs the right people to oversight this kind of shoddy work when it comes to road construction? That is a question we must ask ourselves.
Now, and even Chair, given that this was not tarmac, and this is 2023, do we still have the roads there now? Or they've been washed away? Given that it rains every day in Kisii.
Teacher, that's actually the issue. And I think it's not just for Kisii, even for places like Kitui where it doesn't rain a lot. This issue of roads, we must find a way of dealing with oversight responsibilities for roads construction. Because, Chair, this is what happens. A tender is issued today for construction of a road. It is done. Tomorrow something happens, the road is damaged, or something happens to the road. Another tender is issued on the same road. But then when you want to do an audit or a review of what happened, you want to check on the first tender, but work has already been done twice on that road. It becomes very, very complicated. And in fact, that's why I want to appeal to the county assemblies. Some of these things could form the basis of their primary oversight roles. That these roads constructions, especially by county governments, if they could be looked into within a financial year or even in 6 months' time, that would make a lot more sense than having now to go to check a road in Kisii 2 years after the fact, and the road has been worked on twice on the same project. I thank you, Chair.
Actually, this is, Governor, this is what is causing us problems with the National Assembly on the road maintenance levy fund. You are aware that this Thursday, the Senate will be considering its version of the additional allocations bill. The National Assembly has already processed their version, which has excluded RMLF allocation to counties. Now, the Senate has insisted that RMLF should go to counties. They cite this kind of reports, and I'm sure that they refer to this when they're debating. Look at, for example, road number 3, Omatundura Riombaso Nyameroka Museni Road. The contract sum was 2.1 million. The length of the road was 1.5 kilometers. The work done was 1.5 kilometers. But the comment is, the road was opened, not graded or graveled, and no installation of culverts, no signage for proper identification. Now, a member of National Assembly has tells me that, you see, if we give governors money, all they do is to bring, what's that equipment that opens roads?
Dozer.
Inapita maramoja. Hakuna, there's no grading, there's no graveling, inapita maramoja, and then it is reported that the road has been done. This is a perfect evidence for the members of National Assembly to say that road maintenance levy fund should not go to county governments. And I know they could be wrong in many other counties. In some counties I've seen where the governors are doing a splendid job. But this is not neat, Governor.
Chair, allow me, because you have read, that's the query from the auditor. But the response, Chair, there, this road even, it was, actually if you read, the road was terminated due to the contractor's failure to adhere to the contractual obligation. We are talking of a road whose contract was terminated.
Governor, yes, I've seen that. Now, my worry is, if you cannot procure, if you cannot do due diligence, if you cannot procure a 2 million road successfully, why do governors want 10 billion for RMLF? That's what the members of National Assembly are saying. A 2 million road? So when you terminate a 2 million road, what does that mean? You know, what did the procurement people do before arriving at that person to be the one to do the job? I am sharing with you very real, very live comments, and this is coming up on Thursday. And I know that the Council of Governors has promised that they're going to do a march to the Senate so that the Senate can stand with counties on the issue of RMLF. But someone else will plaque this page as evidence that counties are perhaps not capable of managing small things. Chair. Like 2 million roads.
Chair.
Let's hear from Senator Nyoka, then you may respond.
Governor, the question I think that is important is this. And normally if I want to know what we are dealing with, I go to what the auditor is saying. The auditor says this fellow was paid. Is that right?
Sure, we have provided the contract sum.
Yes.
But we have also pointed out in terms of the status.
Yes.
So here is about the value of 2.4 million.
Yes.
But there's some work which has already not been done.
Yeah.
No, so he's asking whether this...
The money was paid.
Chair, here we are concerned about the effectiveness of the projects. It's not, we didn't capture that part of the payment what has already been done, but we are just bringing the picture of this is the contract sum, this is the length of the road, but this is the status, and you can see some work has already been pending.
You are veering off from where I am asking you. Was this company paid? Because if they were not paid, then your query doesn't hold any water.
Yeah, because if you query it at this level, we don't know if the contractor is still going on. Maybe the contractor.
You see where I'm confused.
To do the other part, that is
help me.
Installation of the culverts. They could still do it, putting the sign.
In other words, Chair, what the senator is asking is a loss of money.
Thank you.
You see, Auditor, let me help you. In your query, the contracts were awarded in December 2023. They were to run for 24 weeks, isn't it? So by the time you're doing the audit, the contract duration had lapsed. The only thing you missed was just to indicate whether the payments were made. I think that would have been very useful information.
Yes.
But in whatever the case, if this is a report that is coming up in September, 30th of September, those contracts ought to have been concluded way back in which month? June? They were to run for 24 weeks. 24 weeks is 6 months. So they ought to have been concluded by June, ideally. By the time you're doing your audit, they ought to have been paid. So I wish we had that column on whether payment was made. So, Governor, when you said it's terminated,
Chair, there is no payment. There is no payment was done to these contractors, and I'm happy that Senator Onyonka was asking about was there any payment made?
So it means that the roads in Bonchari Ward, Bonchari sub-county,
yes,
the lot 2 roads, basically they were not done.
They were not done because of the reasons you have given there.
So, Chair, then in that case, then maybe the governor should tell us, because when you look at the responses, the management responses, it's actually a generic. It's just one
copy paste.
Copy paste from number 1 to number 10. In terms of image, then what does this say about the department? That you have issued 10 roads, perhaps to 10 different contractors who have no capacity to even begin the works, and you have got to terminate the contracts.
Chair, this was a lot, and a lot had all constituents, the 4 wards. Therefore, there was one contractor who, by bad luck, died, and there was a lot of struggle within the company. Therefore, nothing could have continued, and hence that's how termination came in, because there was nothing was done. He had opened some of the roads as observed by the OAG, but we could not pay because that not met the threshold of procurement, as it were. Again, if we'd have paid, you will be told you paid for unfinished works. Therefore, we did not pay any penny.
So it was one contractor for all the roads?
Yes, in the 4 wards, because it was an open tender. Chair.
Chair, can I? If I give the example that you gave of Onyagogo Obore Mesigi Road, according to the auditors, the road was opened, not graded or gravelled, no installation of culverts, no signage, no proper identification. But the auditors saw that the road was opened. Now, during the time of audit, Governor, why didn't you give this explanation that actually the road was terminated due to the contractor's failure to adhere to the contractual obligations? Because then, number 1, this audit query would not have been escalated to this level. Number 2, we would have known that there is no loss of money, that no payment was made. And then number 3, how much do you think should be paid to these people? Because they opened the roads. Does it mean they'll be paid 0? Because some work was done.
Chair, Governor, this explanation given to OAG is either they accepted the explanation or they refused to accept the answers we gave them. But again, to answer to Senator Taita Tafeta, you can even do everything. If, again, even procedure was not followed, you may not be paid, as it were. For the part that which has been done, because the law is very clear, is either you finish your contractual obligation or you are not paid, as it were. Therefore, that's why we are saying the works were terminated, despite the fact that, yes, he had opened some of those roads.
I think someone talked of query about the image. You see, for me, we can have all these explanations, but I've told you where I have a problem at the global level. On Thursday, we are going to fight for 10 billion. These things you're doing is what was used, what the RMLF used to do in counties, because this is maintenance and maybe opening up of county roads. You are going to give us a very difficult time as senators, because the opponents of devolution will take this as a classic case. And the queries don't end there. The subsequent query also has almost 15 roads with irregularities. 15 roads with irregularities. And the question is value for money. And they're small contracts, 2 million, 1 million, 2 million, 2 million. Fairly simple things to do. Even if you are using, because some governors usually complain of the capacity of local contractors. But unless your procurement process is flawed, because sometimes some governors want to give these roads to supporters. So you find someone has been your boy over the years, and you can't employ him because you have overemployed, so you give him a road to do. He has never done a road in his life. He'll even come to ask you for the money to do the road. We have seen these things happening. And I suspect this is the case. Senator Onyoka.
Thank you, Chair. I wanted to raise the question with the OAG. Out of the number of contractors who've been given these roads, and there are about 15, did you verify to see how many of them were paid any funds, if any? Because if all of them were not paid, then there is something substantive. That is really where I'm going with this.
Honorable Chair can take that question. We verified the payment, but also when we are looking when we are doing our audit, we in addition include the effectiveness of how they are carrying out their business. And that is why you see such a case of this query coming, whereby we have picked a sample of the procurement contract that the county has engaged. And we go now to the ground to do physical verification, and we see, like the Senator raised, the work has already started. So there is an expectation that a payment will come at the end, since the county is already in contract with the said road contractor. But now when you do the ground physical verification, it is not there. But to answer your question, yes, where contractors are being paid, we have been able to verify that. But again, we are also looking at the ground, what is there. Thank you.
Chair, I would just want to maybe an advisory to the governor, which is not solicited. You know, I sat in the mediation committee for the county government's additional allocations that terminated in December. And this fight for the 10 billion shillings that should come to counties, it's a real serious fight. And what members of the National Assembly are saying, and they are really standing very firm on it, is that even if you give governors this money, they have no capacity to even deal with this money. They will not be able to utilize this money. Road infrastructure has become a serious problem in the counties. If you give this money to the national government agencies, they are a lot more efficient because they have contractors on site who are proven they have been able to do this work for the longest time. And as the chair is saying, now this is serious fodder for them. When on Thursday this debate comes up, you will hear Kisi being, look at these 10 roads given to one contractor. they are unable to even begin works on the roads. So I think for this kind of things, Governor, through the chair, it's also very important for county governments to seriously do due diligence when they are giving contracts to these contractors. As the chair guided, even if you want to give work to people that we know, I'm very sure then in that network of the people that we know, there must be some competent people that can do these jobs. Because this is not a very good image, not just for Kisii, but even for the implementation of road projects by county governments across the 47 counties. Chair, thank you.
Thank you, Governor.
Chair, I want to agree with both of you of what you're saying, the image outside there. But there is nothing better than even how devolution is working. Yes, I don't want to say that every person is doing what we are doing. Especially the law requires that 30% you must give to the locals. And again, even in that open tender, because these were open tenders, people got it. Some of them, Sir Chairman, there are people who are used, and in quotes, who are used to not do work. You know, wait until there is end of the year, because there is, I think, the wiring of their information that at the end of the year, people must be paid. Money will go back. Therefore, people will process anything. And money doesn't go anywhere. Money is in the CRF account. Therefore, Mr. Chairman, what you are saying is that for us, I will invite, I'm happy that OAG is here. They will see the works which is ongoing now. When that due diligence was done, we gave people who are able to do it. And again, Chair, there is procurement laws which we can't break. If you wanted to help even those people, even if you wanted to help those ones who are with you, you may not give them a project of 20, 30 million, knowingly that these are young people who may not be having that capacity. You'll be able to give them for 1 million, 2 million for you to test them. But lots like this one, Chair, is an open tender where people openly compete.
Governor, maybe Chair.
Senator Muruma.
Yeah, upon the expiry of the extension period, the contracts were terminated. Maybe for the auditor, what is still subsisting here so that we can address this query? Yeah, there's delay in deliverables here. So what do we do to address this query? What is still subsisting?
Yeah, thank you, Chair, through the Chair. Of course, if the issue is incomplete projects and the management has responded in terms of termination because of the deliverables that has not been delivered by the contractors, then it means the next phase is just to retender it again so that the roads can be done. You know, if it is a service to Wanjiku, then it means the road has to be redone again.
Yeah, and I think on our part, if we succeed in fighting for RMLF to go to counties, we are going to insist on very strict accountability framework, because it's a Kenya Roads Board that was doing the accountability. In fact, it was a misnomer, because the Kenya Roads Board is audited at the National Assembly, and yet this money goes to counties. So we were having a fight on who should oversight the utilization of those funds. So since it's coming as a conditional grant, we must make sure that the conditions are clearly spelled out to avoid this kind of scenarios. The next query with 15 issues, with 15 roads, I can see from the written response that there was extension of time. And if there was extension of time, we'll ask the Auditor General to keep it in view, and you can capture it in the next cycle of review. Which other matter had been resolved so that we can look at it and adopt?
Yeah, 5.5, page 22 is also addressed.
The regular procurement of cleaning services.
Yeah. Yeah, the main issue, the tender document was not availed at the time of the audit, but now it has already been provided.
And it has been provided to your satisfaction?
Yes.
Okay.
Then we go to page 28.
So the one for insurance services is unresolved. And that was probably, so it was quite a huge sum, 202 million. Okay. Okay, take us to the next one.
Page 28, issue number 5.7.
Upgrading of Mosocho Market Health Center.
Yeah, here the procurement file was missing at the time of the audit, but now we have been provided the project file.
So we can adopt that if you have seen the project files. The next one?
5.8 is about installation of generator at the Gusii Stadium. Again, at the time of audit, the tender document award was also missing, but the procurement file has also been availed.
Next one?
Sure, those are the areas that have already been addressed. I think the other ones are unresolved.
The other ones are unresolved.
Yeah.
So what we'll do as a way forward, we'll take the guidance of the Auditor General. The issues that the auditor has cleared, we have looked at, agreed with the auditor, and adopted them. The residual issues, we will take the written submissions, but it will be very difficult for this committee to mark them as resolved if the auditor is not satisfied. But we will provide an implementation guideline, or you'll need to do an implementation matrix to ensure that these matters are brought to a close to the satisfaction of the auditor and to the satisfaction of this committee. There are quite a number of project-related issues which might require even a county visit. We want this committee to be more robust, to go out to the counties and to see the projects that are happening there. I think there's been a big concern that we are holding too many meetings in Nairobi. And so we commit that perhaps Kisii would be one of those counties where we would pay a visit to check out some of these projects. But that visit also, we would be very happy to talk to the members of the county assembly and to remind them of their constitutional duty. A lot of the things we have looked at here could have been dealt with at the county assembly level. We'd be happy to meet your audit committee, find out what they're doing, so that they can filter quite a lot of things from coming all the way to the Senate. I think that was our earlier agreement on the way forward, because if we are to go through all the 54 issues, there are 54 paragraphs on this report that are marked as unresolved. So we just picked a few that were relevant for our consideration, but at least we have adopted the ones that the Auditor General has cleared. Honorable members, any...
Chair.
Sorry, for avoidance of doubt, that also applies to the Receiver of Revenue report. The Receiver of Revenue report, I think there could be about 3 or 4 issues outstanding? But the rest have been resolved or partially addressed. The CRF also, there could be 1 or 2 issues pending, but will be guided by the Auditor General. And the reason why we must do this is for us to be able to report to the Senate before the 31st of March. And thereafter, the Senate may recommend that the appropriate action be for us to visit the county, or the appropriate action might be for us to do an implementation follow-up. Senator Dulo.
Chair, I just wanted to know from auditors, it looks like there are so many queries that are not answered. Just for the purpose of report writing, what are the real issues? Is it non-production of the documents? Or what are the challenges that you have faced that made you not to look at those issues, or rather not resolved? Thank you.
Auditor.
Thank you, through the chair. I think there are arrays of issues that probably that has posed in terms of issues outstanding. One of them, I think, as the chair, you have really emphasized about internal controls, and I think which the management has also taken that they need to build up in terms of internal controls. Once you have a very good, strong internal control, some of the issues can be addressed. 2 is in terms of the documentations. I think we really request the county governments normally when we have a process of the audit, and which normally have start from the entry meeting, we give you the management letter, we have an exit meeting, we give you a draft audit reports. At that point is a level of interactions with us, with the clients. And it will be a very good opportunity for the clients to avail some of this information. As you see, there are a number of documents which has already been availed. But if some of these documents will be availed during the audit process, then probably the issues may be fewer, and it could be maybe high-level issues that we can able to bring. Even for us as an audit, for us to add value, we'll be able to bring the high-level issues rather than more of a document has not been provided, so that we can add the value. But it depends on the cooperation of the clients in terms of processes, in terms of record keepings, and in terms of the support of the audit process, so that some of the things can also be handled. But that's our input in terms of an audit.
I think out of this, the Governor, you have committed that you will be involved in the entry and exit meetings. You have committed that you will take administrative action on your officers who did not provide documents at the time of audit. You have committed to establishment of the audit committee. I think you gave us 21 days as a timeline. You have committed on the County Public Service Board. So, Senator Dulo, when we started the meeting, we had a very long conversation on institutions of governance in Kisii and the fact that they're not functioning. They're not doing what they're supposed to do. If those issues are implemented, if you have an audit committee that is functional and a properly structured internal audit committee, I'm sure that a lot of these things will be resolved. Any other comment from members? Yes, because now with that, with the direction I've given, we'll take the auditor's guidance for the residual issues. We will give a time frame for implementation, after which we can now make recommendations for investigation or for them to be taken over by the relevant bodies for execution. So, any other comments?
Yeah, just maybe just to stress on what I said previously, that the queries are very many, and it's a telltale sign that things might not be very well, maybe because of internal inefficiencies, maybe because of low capacity, or maybe low morale of the workers. Otherwise, these issues are too many. But most of them are not very substantial. So maybe just work on the staff morale, capacity, and all what it takes so that we may have fewer issues being escalated to this level. And it's possible to achieve. That would be my observation for now, Chair, that there is a big room for improvement.
Like this one of the county attorney. Surely when you guys got the management letter, could the county attorney even whisper to the CC Finance that this matter should not escalate because there is this ruling of October, you know? It appears you guys are operating in silos. You need to operate as a team. Because once it finds itself in the Auditor General's report, you can't stop someone from using it in a funeral, saying that there's a county attorney who's eating our money, and yet is not supposed to be in office. So I think, as Senator Maruma says, better coordination will have a better picture of the county. Maybe I'll let you have the last word as an area senator. Any other, Senator Legwe, any other matter? Senator Wambua?
So Chair, just maybe to tell the Governor, I think that the issue that you raise about saboteurs in government is really a serious issue, because then people may work with you and think it is you that they are sabotaging, but at the end of the day, it is actually the county of Kisii, not just the government, but the county of Kisii, and eventually then the devolution as a war. I would want to see, as you have said, real serious administrative action to make sure that you account the government, because it would appear, actually from the face of these documents, it would appear that there are a lot of silos in your government. A lot of people doing their own things and the right hand not knowing what the left hand is doing. And what comes to mind is those three issues for me. One is that a voucher for the payment of Kenya Power. A clear sabotage, that's what it is. The payment for Safaricom. And then documents court documents, which are actually public documents about the fate of your Attorney General. Well, why would they be appearing to us at this stage when those issues could have been resolved and not even appear anywhere in the audit when the audit was taking place? So make sure that you have some bit of synergy within the counties, so that we also don't embarrass ourselves and embarrass counties and embarrass devolution. I thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Senator Dulo, anything in closing? Then, Governor, your final remarks?
Chair, thank you. I want to appreciate the, we're on learning every day. I'm sure you guys, as a Senate, you have been having governors before you. There is information you may not be having, which you get from us. And there is a lot of information also because you are out there to oversight the counties as they were. We appreciate the role that you are playing. We want to thank you for the fight you put for the monies which are supposed to be going to the counties. Yes, there will be one or two elements in the 47 counties, but that cannot kill devolution. Today, I'm here, God willing, I'll serve the 10 years. Then you'll find yourself again in the same. If we cannot resolve issues we have now, you'll be having the same problems even when some of you will be governors in the future, if you endeavor to. But again, I want to welcome you to Kisii. There are big projects that we are doing, and some of them, they've been carried out by the Auditor General's observation, you will realize. So that again, Auditor General, you don't happen to be like a police officer, only this. You need to be able again to guide on what exactly is supposed to be done. And I want to plead with the OAG, because a number of responses we gave you, those were very genuine. Unless you had a bone to pick with us, you didn't want to accept. That's because these are straightforward things. Even yourself, you'll be able to see these are issues which have been done, unless one or two things, and I undertake in the future, in all your meetings, I request, because Homa Bay and Kisii, they're just neighbors and they're very close, they're within 30 minutes. Even if you were to come and tell me, Governor, these people of yours have not provided this information we've asked for. We ask that particular officer there and then. If we cannot provide, he goes home. Because we are serving the people who need our services, as it were. Therefore, Mr. Chairman, I want to commit that those particular items, 21 days, the committee will be in place. I'm fast-tracking the process of the board, Public Service Board, the chairman and the secretary, who are supposed to be in place, and many other activities that are supposed to be run by the county. For saboteurs, my senator is here. Some of these people, I may jump with them. They'll definitely run around because, again, the senator happens to be the crusader of those rights of those people. But for sure, we will pass them through the process, which is fair for them to get services to the people. Therefore, Mr. Chairman, I want to thank you as a county. We are ready. We'll appear as long as we are within the law, as it were. Thank you.
Senator Onyonka, your final word. I hope you're not a saboteur.
Chair, before
Senator Dulo.
Onyonka, sorry, I'm coming in. Governor, I hope you have heard what the chair has said. At the end of this sitting, we are going to submit our reports to the House. As it is, even the matters that are unresolved. And I hope you understand the implication of the report if it's going to be tabled on the floor of the House as it is without being resolved. Because simply you have lost the opportunity of going through your documents and also resolving them. So I hope in future you will be able to get more time to be able to look at these documents, because it's going to have a bigger impact. Because with the governments, there is no way that you can erase any report or record. Because If it leaves this committee, then it will go as it is forever. I thank you. Sorry, I'm just warning you on this. Asante.
Yeah, I mean, Governor Waithaka, the first governor of Nyandarua, has just been convicted this month over things he did in his first term in office. So these things remain live. Senator Onyonka?
Chair, I wouldn't really want to say much for the simple reason that I think exhaustively the few issues we are looking at, the only correction I want to make to the governor, we have seen in other county governments when they come and the Auditor General has actually worked interactively. I would wish that when the Auditor General comes to our county, he is given unaffected access to all the documents so that these small issues can be dealt on time. Number two, Chair, what is sad for me is that this is a qualified opinion. In your books, you now have a qualified opinion, which means we are actually at risk of even not getting donor funding for the simple reason that this audit already has raised issues and very substantive issues. The matters we have dealt here, and I know that the public, most likely all Kenyans, are interested to know what did we look at. We looked at the very basic issues, the first 10, and we have looked at them and looked at. There is another 52 coming, which we'll be responding to. We expect that the governor's team will provide more documentation and defend themselves so that by the time the final report is written, everybody feels that they have actually got justice and fairness in the way we are handling the matter. Otherwise, thank you, all of you. Chair, I am happy. I previously worked in this committee. I'm no longer here, but I will be a friend of the committee constantly, and I'm happy that this committee is doing an excellent job for all of you who are here. Governor, with your team, if you travel to Kisii, travel well. We mean well. And I want the public to know, especially our people. Most of our people think that me and you should disagree in public about no. Because when we disagree, we injure our people. Our job is to make sure that we give service delivery to our people with respect and dignity. The office of the governor is a big office. It's an office that should be respected, just like my office. So I hope that we'll continue to raise the issues and push the buttons to make sure that you streamline your activity. By next year, when the report comes, I believe it should be much better.
Yeah, so...
Chair, before you make your comment, I want to respond to two items which Senator Dulo just indicated. Because you did indicate that you sat in the morning and you have decided to pick this report as it is. And we have put our, underlying item that most of the things we answered, either they were not picked as they were supposed to have been picked. Therefore, that should go into record that indeed we gave information to a number of the items to OAG, and from our interaction, we have seen it. Number two, this is not a qualified opinion. It's actually adverse. It's the other way around. It's not adverse, it's a qualified opinion. Therefore, what we want to say is that, as my senator just indicated, going forward, you can be assured of a good working relationship, as it were. That public perception is important for us to manage it, as it were. Thank you.
Yeah, so a lot has been said, and in terms of way forward, we have adopted and agreed with the Auditor General on about 8 issues on the executive, and also a number of issues we had reviewed earlier in the morning, where we've agreed with the Auditor General that they've been resolved. But there are still about 54 issues that remain unresolved, and we will have to figure out a way of ensuring that there is implementation, find a way of sharing duties with the County Assembly. There are some things we'd want the County Assembly to follow up because it is within their mandate, and there are some things that the Senate can follow up with a view to policy and legislative amendments or referral to the relevant agencies. But we'll present our report to the House, and the House will give us directions on appropriate action, which could include visiting the county, or it could include calling the county back to provide an implementation status update. Of course, nothing stops any agency or any entity from looking at the contents of this report and taking whatever action that they ought to take. But Governor, I will repeat this, set your audit committee, empower your internal audit function so that we do not have all this dirty linen coming to Nairobi, and we do not have all these cases of unsupported or irregular expenditure only for you to come with the documents 3 months after the audit has been done. There are quite substantive issues in this report. There are issues of the county headquarters, I think 500 million. There are issues of insurance procurement, 200 million plus. And the auditors queried certain dimensions of some of those procurement. There's the outstanding issue of your wage bill. And I know that we have called you previously to discuss human resource matters. As a Senate, we want to narrow down on key thematic issues so that we are not counting pennies. Let the county assembly deal with the pennies. We want to focus on the big issues because that's what a Senate is supposed to do. I don't think we should be coming here to the Senate with loads of supporting documents showing how you paid electricity bills for street lights across Kisii. Really, that's not what we're supposed to be doing. We should be coming up with some of the policy recommendations that we've been talking about here. Actually, one of the things that we must do, and that's why we like the county assembly to be present, we must ask ourselves, why is the governor happy to come to the Senate and the governor cannot appear before the county assembly? Malcolm, did we establish that was there a ruling that shielded governors from appearing before county assemblies?
Through the chair, not that I know. I don't know of any such ruling that.
So if Governor Simba Arati can come to the Senate and tell us all these nice stories he's telling us, why can't he tell the same stories to the county assembly? The county assemblies must be given strength, and we must empower them, and we must hold them to account. Ideally, they should have done this process. They should have already called you. They should have already called your executive before the 31st of March, and that has not happened. So we would wish that our county assemblies do the right thing. They were very, very swift when it came to impeaching your deputy. I wish they can be that swift when it comes to issues of consideration of audit reports, so that we allow the Senate to deal with other things.
Chair, I think it's this way. You know, governors are the county presidents. The same way this committee cannot invite the president, the national, I mean the president of the Republic of Kenya to appear before us. I think that is the understanding that maybe governors cannot appear before county assemblies, maybe to those relevant committees, unless maybe we, I don't know, there will be some serious arrangement to that effect, Chair.
No, I think it's a wrong interpretation because the Constitution allows Parliament to summon any person. Any person. We can summon the president. Yes. Parliament can summon any person.
That is why,
there is no
Chair, if I can help, that is why that the first function of the president is actually to report to Parliament. That's a function of the president. Reports progress of his government to Parliament. So he's a subject of Parliament as much as everyone else is. It's only that in your arrangement, then I don't know what it is that you fear from.
It has some serious manipulation to that.
Yeah. No. There is no reason why Governor Simba cannot go to the Kisii County Assembly unless you're afraid they'll blows my train on you. But you represent, you provide guidance and stewardship of that county, and the first primary oversight should be at that county assembly.
For your information, the county assembly will normally appear.
Your officers, not you.
I normally appear even to address the assembly. Therefore, there is no fear. These are the people we are working with them.
Yes.
Therefore, there should be no insinuation that, we fear no appearing. No. These are people we are working with. They are leaders like us. Therefore, we have to account for every penny. We have tried so much. Of course, we may not be there yet, but we will be there.
And going forward, Senator Onyonka, you're in the Finance Committee.
Yes.
Going forward, we are going to make a proposal that allocation to county assemblies there we put in a factor that, you see, right now allocation to counties is based on the last audited accounts as adopted by the National Assembly. Perhaps we should tie allocation to county assemblies to a percentage of the last revenue that they have adopted. Members, I hope you understand what I'm saying, because that then gives them the motivation to do timely consideration of reports. If Kisii perhaps last considered the reports of 2021, then let them get a share of the revenues of 2021, not a share of the revenues of 2024. We must do something, and I can assure you that in the next audit cycle, we will have made a lot of innovations and a lot of amendments to our processes. But these gentlemen and ladies here, there are things that we feel we are engaging in, which should be done by the county assemblies, and we believe that when governors come here, we should discuss bigger issues, policy issues, impact issues, value for money issues, performance issues, and not the kind of conversation we have been having here of counting the number of voided transactions. So with that, we have come to the end of today's session. The meeting is adjourned.